Okay, I'm Bill Kanda, Custer County Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and this is Thursday, February the 20th, 2025, and that's 9 a.m. Please silence your phones if you haven't already. And this meeting is being recorded on Zoom and on YouTube, and official recording also. So with that, let's have the pledge of allegiance.
Please all rise. Repeat after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for all our blessings and ask that you please bless this meeting of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. Strengthen us with wisdom, patience, and kindness and goodness so that we can solve all the perplexities, problems, and choices that come before us today. We ask for your blessing and love of our citizens of this great county. Grant us the grace to ask what you would have us to do, that the spirit of wisdom may save us from false choices, and that in thy light we may see light as we convene this board to and for the service of our Custer County citizens. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Okay. We're rolling. Roll call.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Epps.
Present.
Commissioner BOCC.
Here.
And clerk to the board, Kelly Camper, present.
Okay, thank you. Audience introductions, we'll start with Kate.
BOCC
She's not an audience, but she gets to start.
BOCC admin, Caitlin Womack.
Happy birthday.
James Gilbert.
John Van Dorn. Marty Newcomb, I'm in my Ukraine supporting clothes today.
You sure are. Vicky.
Virginia Julia.
Rob Smith.
Okay, thank you. And there, how many online, anybody?
Two.
Two people? Okay,
Deb Adams and John Price.
okay, well, thanks. Okay. John Price. All right, any amendments to the agenda?
Yeah, the Veteran Services needs to be moved to past Custer County Kids Council. He had a conflict first thing this morning.
Clear at the bottom.
Yeah, just right after Custer County Kids Council. And then Human Services will be in person. The coroner will not be present. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Well,
No, I have nothing. We're good.
okay, just for everybody's edification, there's agendas out here, everybody get a copy, so if you want one, they're on the chair here. We're gonna do staff reports today, our requirement once a month to do that, listen to what we've got, and or some will be in written form only. And in any case, they'll be posted online, catch up after the meeting, as soon as we can. So with that, take a look at the minutes of February the 13th.
I didn't see anything that needed, so I'll make a motion to approve the February 13, 2025 BOCC agenda minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as written. Good job, Kelly, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
All.
Aye.
And a aye. Okay, two more visitors, not visitors, but reporters, that's sheriff and chief. Okay, commissioner item, Lucas.
Real big thing is the housing needs assessments virtual kickoff started. So we just, that's mainly being run by the town of Westcliff, but we started that kickoff for that project. It's just a kind of a round table of all the interested parties. Barry Keene, who's on our housing committee. So just numerous people giving feedback into this vendor that we've selected that is gonna do that. So, that's all I got there.
A little bit, I attended the school board meeting on Thursday. A lot of information got put out to the board. It was real good if you got to see that online, or listen to it or be present. It was a very, very good conducted meeting. But again, a lot of information went to the board. I have not heard anything from the time. They just said that they're gonna schedule another meeting. And that, what happened last week on Thursday, and then myself just trying to get around and meeting the rest of the department heads and everything in the county. And we're gonna talk about Blue Ridge.
Ken, bring it up, go ahead.
On Tuesday night, there was a meeting of Liberty Rocks at Tony's Pizza. Had a very good turnout, probably about 40 people there to get a nose count on that. It was an open forum for all three of us commissioners. It was a question and answer time. I think we covered some very good topics, and I think everybody was pleased with the way it was conducted and the information that was put out. And that was Thursday night at Tony's. That's all I have.
And we're gonna do several of those in different locations. Matter of fact, yeah, library.
Library wants to.
Coming up in June.
So the library thing is a coffee with the commissioner, so I think it's pretty relaxed, pretty, just come in, grab a cup of coffee or whatever they're gonna have there, and have a chat, so.
We'll be doing those periodically, and you can ask questions about anything you heard or the rumors. We're trying to squelch rumors. Call us if you have a question.
Yep.
Is that it? All right, I have just two things. Airport contract for the gates, all the signatures we got, and Nancy ordered it. Go on the job now.
Awesome.
And also I wanted to ask, we have a couple ESO veterans issues that we need to have a workshop here at 2 o'clock if we can make it. An internal closed meeting with our ESO and VA's issues.
Okay.
So that'll be at 2. And Caitlin and all that, we'll put out a Zoom on that, so we get it involved. I'll talk to you after that. Okay, that's all I have. All right. Admin assistant, anything for us? Everybody toeing the line, making the calls, or being polite? Okay.
For most of our guests.
Okay, with that, let's get into shipment. Rich, you got a report?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why would a VA workshop be closed?
It's some personnel issues that we can't, it's like, it's just a process thing. It's not a meeting that we're gonna do in anything short of discussing the issue that you brought up. So, and he'll report on all that when if there's something that revolves out of that meeting in his report to us. Go ahead. Sheriff.
Hey, sir. Thank you.
You made it. You want to sit down and just kind of get your voice loud enough, Rich, toward them, keep it angled that way so that everybody can hear a little harder. Can you hear us okay? We're trying to keep the volume up.
Thanks for having me over. Our report for January, which I believe you guys have a printed copy in front of you. We measure crimes. There's a thing called NIBRS Part A, which is like the murder, rape, and robbery, and then NIBRS Part B, which is the less serious. And we are significantly down on the serious crimes last year and also for the month of January. We did 97 traffic stops. We gave out 9 traffic tickets. There was a lot of interest on Facebook on how many tickets we were given versus warnings and whatnot. And then 3 of our budget lines are over, and one is what we call professional services, and that's due to some legal fees. We put $2,178 needs to go into a fund that we get from the state called Black and Gray Marijuana Grants that was just miscategorized. And then we're also responsible for inmate medical costs, and we also pay like a catastrophic health care plan for the inmates who are in our care. And one of our inmates had to have surgery in December, and we got the bill in January. And then I'm excited, we have 17 employees, and 2 of those employees live within 5 miles of the county line. And 4 of them live outside of the city, or it used to be 5, but one guy actually just closed on his house yesterday, so.
Outside of here.
Outside of the county. So one guy bought a house in Silver Cliff that closed on yesterday, and then we do have a deputy that's in the Canyon City area, and he's actively looking to move up here.
So everybody's moving into the county.
Well, so one guy won't move up here no matter what, we have 4 that are still out, but the goal is to get them encouraged to come in.
Nice. The lawsuit that got to professional services, I thought since that got billed last year, that should go on last year's budget.
Yes, I believe it got invoiced on October 31st.
Okay. I'll make sure that gets moved.
Okay.
I think I talked to finance about that, but I'll make sure that gets moved to last year's budget.
Thank you.
That's it?
That
That's it?
surgery happened as well?
I'm sorry?
That surgery happened as well, but did it get billed in January?
It happened in December, and I think we got the bill in January from.
Okay, I'll see if we can get that moved to the appropriate year.
So there's a new mandate by the legislature that when an inmate leaves custody, the sheriff's office has to provide a 90-day supply of prescription medicine for them. So,
That's all you have, right?
That's
Jim's
it.
got a question.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Yeah, how come only 10% ticket issuance on traffic stop?
How come only 10%? We give a lot of warnings. I can talk about that a little bit more. I'm on the agenda for tickets down a little lower.
Oh, okay.
But we get a lot of warnings.
Is
The idea is to
there
get
a reason to
voluntary-
give a lot of warnings?
To try to, the goal is to try to get voluntary compliance. And so, let's say I stopped you for running a stop sign down the street. I could say, here's a ticket, pay it. Or I could say, hey, the reason we have a stop sign here is there's a crosswalk and kids walking, trying to help.
Okay, my concern is how many warnings do you give for people going 20, 30 miles over the speed?
Very few. I can't think of a reason to give a warning for that.
Okay.
We're talking more.
We're gonna talk in more depth on how we want to
Burn
control.
out brake lights, I wouldn't give a ticket for that.
Okay, okay. never mind.
I would be mad if a deputy was given a warning for 20 or 30 of this.
Well, I was concerned that with only 10% ticketing, that perhaps the warnings were being given a little too lenient.
Depends on how many it is, and maybe it's working. I might get as many speeds.
And our crashes last year, according to the CDOT preliminary numbers, were lower than any year all the way back to 2010. So we have had
Well,
good numbers.
Warning worked for me, right?
Okay, thanks. But you weren't going 30 over the speed limit.
Slow stop up there.
Well, warnings are
least he
actually
was
are
honest.
for a poor kid that's got a family of 5 and he's going 5 over or whatever. A warning, slowing down because he doesn't want to impact his grocery bill.
And then I would ask you to keep one of our deputies in prayer, had a medical emergency last night unrelated to the job. And just keep his family in your
Okay, good.
thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Rich. We'll see you back here. Okay, next one, Vicky. Is that right? No, I'm sorry, it's Virginia, I'm sorry, Vicky. I always skip the 2 most important. Hi, thanks.
Morning, Virginia.
Morning. This is for you to sign, Jill. This is the one for you guys to look at. I got one extra one. for you.
Okay, what's wrong with it? Can you tell us what is not right?
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
As loud as you can.
There is some big things that have changed. So there was a lot of funds that had been in the general fund balance, in the cash balance in general fund. There was a lot of funds that had been broken out, and we had earmarked that money or said, this is money goes here. So a lot of that was LATCF money, so that money got put into the contingency fund, which gives us around $486,000. That's the 30 fund.
Then attainable housing
And
down
then
at the bottom.
attainable housing here.
Number-
Read my glass all the time now. That went, we put $400,000 in there. That was what we had promised over the years in meetings. And so we finally transferred that 400,000 into that fund so that that was earmarked. So we were getting closer to knowing exactly what we have for cash in the general fund. We're gonna be making some others, like the $1 per cubic yard of trash every year. We didn't
In the
make the
landfill.
transfers from the landfill. We didn't make those transfers into the landfill expansion fund, so we're catching those up to date and getting those switched over. So we're gonna have true numbers of where we're actually at in county general. So trying to clean that up, trying to make that money move where it needs to be. So we have a clearer picture, so.
It's actually really getting cleaned up a lot. There were times that Virginia got stuff in that we had no clue where it went.
Oh, I was asking all over.
Yeah.
Whose is this and what is this for?
Everybody wanted it though.
Yeah.
Imagine how that is.
$40,000.
We're all just like children.
So that's a result of a new system we had, how long has it been? 3-4 years now?
3 years.
We've been learning.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say it's a result of that, it's a result of finance taking care of it.
Finance getting it straightened out to be able to use it correctly and making sure it's done, and training everybody how to use it. So, great. Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I don't have.
So this is the treasurer's report for December 1st through the 31st with the beginning balance of what is it? Bottom line here is $9,605,673.90. And our ending balance for that month was $9,347,082.99. Now it's got a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the period of 12/1/24 through 12/31/24.
Paul, second that motion.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I always have to ask, what's collections holding?
It's tax collection.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, and of course you all can see this online. All right. All in favor, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Lucas? Aye. Kanda, aye. I did circle something that down the bottom.
Okay, attainable housing,
Yeah.
that's Kelly's. If she
Yeah,
doesn't
she's
care, I
happy
don't
with it.
care.
can sign it.
Thank you, Virginia.
Thanks, Virginia.
The coroner's not coming today.
No, he did tell me that he's had 2 natural deaths, very, very natural, very, just natural deaths, very, very little show up, do what he needs to do, and take care of business, so,
And he told us also that he's running in budget.
oh yeah,
That is
he says that all the time.
I know he's proud of it, and I wanted to make sure we could put that out,
Continue it on.
given that he's been busy.
Yeah.
Okay, now staff reports. John's got a question.
Yeah, just a clarification. I think I understood what you were saying, because about the general fund and separating out funds that are committed, restricted from funds that we actually have some agency to spend. And so we actually we know what's in our bank account, so to speak.
Right, correct. Yes.
Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
That way we don't dip into thinking we had something that we'd already allocated and then we come up short with that department.
It makes you think that, oh, we got a lot of reserve, and actually you don't have a lot of reserve because we've already restricted these funds to certain purposes, and we need to make sure that we go forward with those purposes.
And in fact, we get money coming in to sheriff supplies. I mean, people want to put money in to buy a sheriff vest or something. So we don't want to spend that money for something else.
And what's the reserve right now? The actual spendable, floating, free reserve?
I would say there's at least $1 million in general fund reserve.
Okay.
There's around $1 million in capital improvements and around $1 million in road and bridge.
We're only required to, what, it's like 100,000 or something.
3%.
Yeah, we
of
can't
general
go
fund.
negative.
Yeah.
So, and we don't want to hold back too much because we should be fixing roads or fixing unattainable houses.
So would you say it's a healthy reserve at this point?
3 to 6 months. I asked that question of some other counties, finance departments or administrators, and they said a 3 to 6 month amount is what you should have in reserve. So in 2008, when the housing market crashed, Fremont County ran into a little bit of a cash problem, or they just didn't have quite the money because all of a sudden valuations dipped. They didn't get the money in that they thought they were going to get in, and they wish they would have had a little bit more of a cash reserve. So I got that from somebody who used to work in their finance department back then, and she said, so she goes, 3 to 6 months, you're probably thinking about right. So
Okay, and we're in that zone now.
probably we are with road and bridge, capital improvements. We're over in both those, well,
Not really over, it's just.
we're over with capital improvements by double, because we run about a $500,000 budget in capital improvements. But road and bridge is about 2.4, and we have $1 million in reserve, so we're almost 6 months there. So we're in between that 3 to 6 months. But if we run, $4 million in general fund, we should have $2 million in reserve. And I don't know what those, now that we've moved this money around, I don't have the for sure cash reserve money, but I know we at least have $1 million in cash reserves in there.
And we will spend that if we can at the end of the year, during the year. We sure don't want to go into the new year with a couple $1 million that we could have used to do a better road base on something else, for example. Okay. Jim, you got a question?
Just real quick, not being an accountant. So it sounds like the general fund is composed of discretionary and non-discretionary funds,
Yes.
and the non-discretionary funds, are they then removed to separate line items within the general fund or outside the general fund?
Everything that I've moved here recently goes into other funds other than the general fund. So it's not like it's earmarked in under the 10 fund. It is pulled out, like landfill expansion is its own fund. Contingency fund is its own fund. That money is no longer within the 10 fund.
It's not restricted. The ones that are really restricted, like road and bridge tax money.
Allocated within the 10 fund have their own line items within the 10 fund. Is that correct?
Say, ask your question again.
Okay, I'm envisioning
General
that the
fund.
general fund, which I assume is the 10 fund,
Yeah.
has a bunch of money in it that's not allocated yet.
Yeah.
And has money in it that is allocated.
Correct.
So the is allocated stuff all has a line item that it's allocated
Attached
for
to it.
within the general fund as opposed to outside of it.
Correct.
Right.
Like the sheriff's department is within the 10 fund.
Okay.
DHS is within the 10 fund.
Okay,
So,
And there's other things in the 10 fund, it's like housing that we might want to put aside and not spend if we have, and it's discretionary, but we want to fence it because we want to see it used that way. That was my budget.
well, it's discretionary for housing.
Right.
Yeah, but there's some that's discretionary for any.
Sure.
That's all I was just trying to get
All
a
right.
picture.
Moving on then. You can do it now, Vicki.
no,
Not yet?
no.
Please?
Are you following your agenda?
No, I am. You want to do, what else do we have here?
It's human resources is first.
I know it is.
That's Bob.
Bob is up next.
Robert Smith.
Yes. She was blocking him.
Don't know what's coming or not.
Come on up, Bob.
Thanks. Nice blue shirt. Thank you. Hey, see, we got the memo. Even the guy out in the audience got the memo.
So, last week, Monique, Kristen, and myself went through CSE training in payroll, personnel, and the time clock modules. Primary reason is that payroll is moving from finance over to human resources. Monique will be processing those. So
Loud.
So that's why that's been going on. During all of that, the trainer spent some dedicated time with Monique, walking her through the payroll process. She's actually finishing that up. Probably this will be her first payroll coming out at the end of the month. Where CCI converted to, county converted to CCI in the personnel module was marginally set up, that module. So that has been cleaned up and set up correctly because it wasn't in the past, wasn't being used, or the interface wasn't working. We input and assigned workers' compensation codes and rates to positions. That's necessary for workers' comp rates. So how that works is every position is assigned a risk rate and then a dollar value assigned to how the more the riskier the position, the more it costs the county. And so those rates were assigned to positions, and the positions were assigned to individuals via the position. That was never done. Employees were either set up as elected or not. And so there was a breakdown in communication and tracking all that information. So that's been fixed. We assigned positions to employees, because that was never done. And that way you can apply pay rates to the position and what the position has to have to be hired and all of that. That's been never done. So that was been cleaned up. We input and assigned, it's called EEO classifications to positions. That's necessary for what's called an EEO4 reports that have to go out every other year. So that was never set up. So that was done. In the past, we had some errors in processing payroll that would occasionally come up. One being that some employee paychecks would come out and then had to be redone because Medicare deductions weren't coming out of that check. And so it was unknown why. So that error was fixed so that we didn't have to void a check and reissue it. The same issue, there was times when an employee would receive double checks. And so we had to go in and void a check and reissue it. The reason that was happening is we had set up a large number of our employees as what's called salary non-exempt, meaning that they were put in as classified both as exempt or non-exempt at the same time. That way their wages would be consistent and they didn't have to put in hours worked. But so in the payroll system, it will see salary as one pay code and it would see hourly as another pay code. And when it would try to pull a paycheck, it would pull both of those codes and pay them both. And so we were running into that quite frequently. And so the only fix is to get rid of one of those pay codes. Because there's a way around it when you process, but if you forget or don't see it or don't do something to turn that off, then it goes through. So I recommend to the board that we do away with the salary non-exempt structure that we're trying to do to help employees' wage be consistent. And so they have to put in hours and then they're paid for the hours they work. So their wage may go up and down a little bit. So to save the problem, I would like to do away with the salary non-exempt process.
Does that work with Vernon back there? I'll
Yeah.
get you.
I've talked with the department heads and elected officials. They've all so that should be fine, and I've talked with Vernon, who's aware of it, and so,
Let's see what Richie had a question.
yeah.
Is that what Mike will get?
Well, for yours is a little bit different, so yes, but no. The best answer I can give without sitting and having a big conversation.
This what you're asking them to do doesn't.
Won't affect you,
Okay.
yeah, because we had, Under Sheriff Barnes was in, working with us yesterday before, working through, trying to make sure that all the pay codes are set up for the 207K or the 171, and so that won't impact you. Yep. So that's a recommendation, so we can do away with that problem.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, sir.
You're pointing.
Yes, sir.
Just a second, wait a second,
You-
Jim. You didn't, and is there another issue on that?
No, that's just, my recommendation is to do away with, so we can get away from the double pay issue.
Okay. All right, Jim.
So if everyone is an hourly employee, then, do they put in overtime hours?
So I don't want to be too critical, but not every employee is hourly. They're like myself, I'm an exempt employee, exempt from overtime. So if I
thought
were,
you just said you're doing away with it.
well, the way it's set up now, it's a hybrid, salary non-exempt. Those typically are
Oh, I
conflicting.
didn't hear the non-exempt part.
Yeah.
I was hearing salary exempt.
Yeah, so there's two generally accepted pay classifications for employees, anywhere in the country.
Okay. So I'll rephrase my question.
Yes,
So everyone except exempt employees put in for, overtime.
they can, yes, if they work over 40, yes. But the payroll system would see the pay code of salary, a fixed wage, and they would see, the pay system would see hourly, like 40 hours worked, and it doesn't know the difference. It just sees that those pay codes are there and try to pay them
But
both.
no, I mean, when you fix it,
It'll just see the hourly.
okay, so then
The problem goes away.
the problem goes away, but the employees that used to be salary non-exempt, we should remember to put in.
Yeah,
their
most of them are already doing it.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
a
It's just
invisible change.
pretty much, yeah. Most of those employees are already putting in hours in the time code, and it came out as a change. So, like I said, I don't know if you need a
I
vote.
don't think.
I'm just recommending this is what we do to fix it.
The finance department says that's what's
Yeah.
the right thing to do, is so fix it.
And
Yes.
I would say we'd agree by acclamation.
That's the same.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. So that's good, okay?
What else?
We've begun my 2024 annual workers' compensation audit that's due by the end of March. For some county governments, it's a commonplace practice to put their insurances and contracts and services out for bid every 3 to 4 year cycle to ensure that they're being good stewards of tax dollars. Since I'm just now coming, I don't know what's been done in the past. I didn't know if the board has an interest in going to bid for like workers' comp, property and casualty, airport insurance and things. Now, that would impact our 2026 budget, possibly lowering expenses.
I thought we did that. Never did.
I don't know if you have before. I haven't seen where we've gone out to the market and did a public request for proposals for those bids.
Is there time to do that?
There is time, yes.
Make my view, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
I don't need a decision today, but if you want to do that, the sooner I get that direction, the better.
When's it due?
Well, it's generally a 3 or 4 month process. And so the sooner we start, the better, because each one of these takes time. And if you want to do it, I've done it for years, for 20-some years. So it can be done. I just need to know if the board wants to have an interest.
We need to do it. There's other counties that are looking to save money. We should be looking at our retirement costs. what those administration fees are within CRA. There's a lot we need to be looking at, all our membership dues and what's our ROI on those. But, can we double up with something? So I would say, yeah, we need to RFP, and we probably need to I don't think we need to look at it every year.
No.
But we need to put it in our policy that we're going to look at it every 5 years so that we stay on market
To be competitive.
level. We don't want to change everything because it would be a lot of work to change some of that stuff, especially when it deals with 100 employees. We want to make sure that we have that lined up, and we have the support, and we have the staff to
change
change
their rates based on who's hitting them. Why?
It's fairly common for city and county governments to go, what's called go to market every 3 to 4 or 5 years, maybe every 3 years.
Okay,
Um,
I will be standing by.
So, I can do that if you want.
Yeah.
Okay? I will put that together and bring it to you just to embed you.
See what you buy. Make
We-
sure it's best buy. too.
Oh, yeah, that's the whole process.
Sometimes if it's cheap, it may not be true.
Right. And I'll bring to you the process and how I'm going, and it'll be part of my reports. Recently gave each commissioner a copy of the proposed personnel employee handbook policies update. I'd like to move that forward. It's just, it requires your input. And so you can do it 2 ways. You can do it in a work session, or if you want to go through the paper copies of it, I gave you, make notes and I'll input.
Let's get together and discuss it.
Let's set up a workshop for at least all the elected officials to have their input into that document.
Take a
I
look.
think the sheriff might have his own, but whatever interplay there might be between ours and the sheriff's.
Yeah, there's some that I think would be, there's some that won't.
Sure.
But, but I think they all need to have a place along with
Yes,
you.
they do.
So if we could have a
Work
work
with
session,
Caitlin
that
and
would be good.
Get scheduled up.
Okay? In my last report, I gave an overview of the HR functions, and then I mentioned that I've started auditing the HR department and big picture of things, that long-range goal of what needs to be done to put the personnel department together. And so I provide you a copy of what that looks like, things that are in process, things that are done, things to be yet done. So I just wanted to make you aware of it. That's a living document. So as things are completed on that path, they will be updated, or if we find something else that I missed, it will be added.
Okay.
And that's available for anybody. Yes?
When you say that, Kathy Griffin, when you say that list is available for anyone, as to what your projects are that you're working on, do you mean it's available to the general public?
Yeah,
And where is it available?
I have extra copies, you can have one, but it's also, I think it's part of my packet, which would be online, I'm understanding. Or if you just want a copy, I'm not gonna make you fill out a core request for it, but
Now,
you
I
can have it.
like paper, I'll go ahead and look online. And then the other question that I had was, with regards to looking into the health insurance cost, and how full your plate is, and considering that we just, elected a new president, and so a lot of times insurance issues will change during the presidency. I wonder if that is a high enough priority to look and see if there's gonna be any changes right now for your time, as opposed to maybe waiting until, for 2 years and then see how stable things are. Just coming from the insurance industry, which was quite some time ago, it wouldn't surprise me that there's gonna be some pretty significant changes, within a couple of years. And so any information that you get from your research right now, how valid is that gonna be? So you have a lot more experience than I do.
So as far as my time, now that Monique is on board, she's taking over a lot of the day-to-day things. And getting, I guess, I call spun up, or getting on board and taking, as she learns, and now she's taking a lot of that over. So that frees up a lot of my time to do the things that are on here. going out to bid, there's a lot of work on our side, but a lot of the work is also done by, first you go out to bid for a broker, and then the broker does, you find a broker, and then you issue a broker letter, and then they go to the market because they have the connections, and so it's a combination of stuff. So it's doable.
Doable, but even the information that they get, is that really?
Some, we are coming out of what's called, for health insurance only, and property casualty, coming out of what I call a hard market, which means the market isn't as receptive to being lower, but I think that what I'm seeing is coming down, especially with workers' comp. So it's worth looking, and I think the results would be worth us at least having a see.
Sure, and the commissioners, we are, when he brings it to us, we have to be aware, like you said, the big picture, because we don't want to get locked into a 10-year contract that combines it, blah, blah, blah. And so
It's just a
we'll be back.
comparison.
You'll bring that. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, those things change.
If you made a mistake, you let us know. Your expertise should be called all the time.
That was over 20 years ago. It was just kind of new.
Okay. That is fine.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks. Vernon, you're gonna play two roles here today?
Which hat would you like me to wear first?
Whatever you wanna do first, IT or finance.
All right. Well, good morning. My IT report. Sorry. Good morning for my IT report. Excuse me. A lot of work going on behind the scenes, John.
Oh, sorry.
It's just my name.
Walk on here.
John Mapes is doing a wonderful job working in IT. He and I have started a countywide project to increase our redundancy and backup systems for our cybersecurity infrastructure. We've worked with public health to create new secure file servers and set them up in a more secure fashion this year. Sheriff's Office, we had a server failure with one of our main servers failed, and we are reconstructing the drives digitally at this time. A couple years back, 4 years back or so, we had a similar issue, and it cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to reconstruct that. We are doing it ourselves in-house, so it's saving that money. We are also researching mobile Starlink for the SO vehicles. That would give them cell phone and internet connectivity anywhere they can see the sky. So that's a fun little project. We've had to replace some computers. The investigations computer had to be replaced because the investigator needed more robust hardware and processing speeds. The computer that she had just couldn't keep up with the work that she was doing. HR computer, it had some overheating issues, just out of warranty, had some overheating issues, so we replaced that one, and we're going to rebuild the laptop. And then we're creating a new security and observation camera system at the Sheriff's Office. We have the computer in my office, we're setting that up right now. I would like to ask for a workshop at some point in the very near future to go over the future of the IT structure in the county. I think that this is very important. In the last 7 years, remember I came on at $19 an hour, and it was and it's been a fun 7 years. So
And you're all the way up to 17.
right. So it's the landscape has changed radically. The requirements on us are very, very onerous, and we need to see some changes take place in the IT structure. So I've got some options that I can present to the board in a workshop.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. You need to make some changes because you're finance now. We need a finance officer or an IT person now full-time, as well as we'll see what you recommend. You may need an assistant in the IT world as well. So we need to talk about.
Yes, indeed. I'll have the structure outlined and some recommendations for the board, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the future.
That it on the IT front? Question on the IT?
Yes. Are there other options besides mobile Starlink?
For vehicles,
Or what you're thinking of using it for?
so really the only other option for a mobile communication system in the canyons and stuff like that would be something like HughesNet, but they don't offer it's not a user-friendly system. So Starlink has the new smaller mobile systems for $50 a month. That seems to be something that we can look at. We haven't committed to anything yet, though.
Or to follow?
No.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's move on to finance.
Okay. So it is audit time. Years past, audit time began somewhere around June, but with all of the challenges we faced in finance, we are doing the accountant and myself are working with all the department heads, elected officials to do an internal audit to prepare us for the regular audit. And we are shooting for the regular audit to start sometime around April 20th. We are shooting to have our internal audit done by March 31st, so that all of our data is ready to go to the auditors, hopefully cut down on the cost and time involved with that. We've also identified a lot of the inherent challenges the auditors face, and have created workflows to try and address those.
So
that
did you
we
get
can
an
information.
appointment with our auditor to be up front, or are we gonna get in line?
We do not have an appointment yet, but that was the date we discussed last year.
So we don't get shoved to the back and we end up getting it late.
Understood.
Well, part of the problem is he also he's not just an auditor, he's a, tax advisor, and so, April 15th, he frees up, after April 15th, he frees up greatly. And so, us having it ready before then, that's why we set March 30th, it gives us a couple weeks of leeway before he really comes in, but we've realized it's not the date he starts, it's the value of the package we give him. So if we don't give him a very valuable package, it's just gonna take
That's right,
longer
it
and
takes
cost us
longer
more.
to iron out the problem.
So we've really been discussing with Lisa and amongst the Vernon and I about how does that process, where does he really struggle? What have we been failing at, and correcting those things internally to get those things better, so. And we've just, the hangar leases are in better order than they've ever been before, so, we've just started gathering that information up and getting it properly processed through the years, because we're always preparing for an audit by just simply doing our workflows and our processes. And if we do those right, audit time should always be fairly easy.
And working at the same time on fixing our deficiencies in the past.
Right.
That's what's happening.
So that takes me to my next point here. So over the last year, I've been working closely with our accountant and the auditors and Commissioner Epp, and identifying the material weaknesses that we've had, and that's literally the term the auditors used for the last 20 years, the material weaknesses that we've had in much of our reporting that's been going on for 20 years. So I've identified the policies that are needed. We've already actually started implementing certain policies. The state auditor's office communicated those policies to them. They were very supportive of that. So we're working on, I've crafted accounts payable, payroll policies, AP trainings, as well as credit card policies, fund reconciliation processes. You can have all the policies in the world, but if you don't have the training to implement it, you might as well burn them. So the policies are wonderful because it shows to the government and the outside world that, hey, this is what we're doing, but then it's the workflows that actually keep us on track to make certain we can enforce those. And then Commissioner Oversight steps in and says, how are we doing on those policies? And that's,
Making sure there's an invoice and a receipt.
well, yeah, that's possible, that's part of it, yes, definitely.
It's definitely the monitoring. Every time I talked to Sam DiNardo last year, it was like monitoring. I've talked about this for the last 20 years. So it is, it's who monitors what, it's what oversight do we have in our workflows, where are our control points. It's here, whether it's AP going through, somebody's credit card reimbursement and it's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 is I gotta have the commissioner who's over that department sign that this reimbursement is actually for the expense that we said it was for. And then continue to go through the list. It also helps us with, we've never really, finance and HR, anytime they take off time, they run into this, who replaces them? Who takes that job for that week or 2 weeks so that they can take off time? And they need to take off time, both HR, finance, IT, they support all the rest of our departments. So so somebody that sits in that seat needs a real good training and then real good quick reference guides to guide them through the process, step by step, so that anybody that's fairly well trained can sit in that seat. They don't have to have 2 people doing it so that somebody can take off time, but we need somebody else trained up as a backup, so.
Why you need another guy?
That's why both Krista and myself were in the payroll training, along with both the HR personnel, so that we understood that process. We have that redundancy. As far as AP training, Caitlin has started training in that, and so technically we'll have 3 people eventually that can do that part too.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this time off thing you speak of is, but it sounds interesting.
He'd like to try it someday.
Yeah, exactly.
Marty, hold on a second. Marty, you
I
got a
have a
question
comment.
on
I
that?
really believe everything you say.
Okay.
And I'm disappointed that so many people are getting fired in the government and we don't have replacement. They're not ready. How does that affect? That doesn't affect you, does it?
Actually, it does. We are looking at certain budgetary restrictions. I thought we would have a year. It turns out we had 2 weeks. So we're looking at certain budgetary restrictions because it's significant. Remember that we had a single audit last year, which means we have our regular audit, and then we had certain government funds that came into the county in excess of $750,000, which trigger what is called a single audit. So that's one of the reasons why our audit costs are so high, because they do a regular audit and then they do what is called a single audit that drills down on that $750,000. Well, $750,000 coming from the federal government is now in jeopardy because of the changes. Good or bad, I'm not making a value judgment, I'm simply stating that a large portion of our funds come from these sources. So the changes in the federal government will affect us on a local level.
Especially in a grant world.
Yeah, you're not offended, but I.
We don't have a lot of federal grants.
But in 24, so this audit for 24 coming up, we'll have another single point audit as well, because we've ran over the threshold of the 750 after this year. So for this year, when we do the audit for 25, it's $1 million then for federal funds. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up and what we see, so.
Okay.
$1 million cumulative or?
Yeah, for all the federal funds. Yeah.
Okay.
Bigger chunks.
So we'll have to meet, as long as we have under $1 million, we won't have to have a single audit in addition to our regular audit on those funds.
But all those funds are subject to capricious canceling.
Yeah.
And at any time, DHS from a state point or OEM from a state point can come in and audit our books as well, so.
Go audit, but not cancel the funds. Take
They
it
could
back.
cancel them.
Yeah.
They
Do whatever they want to, I
You know,
guess.
they can, once it's allocated by legislature, they can't.
No, I get your point.
My last bullet point is the upcoming projects, of course, the audit. The other one is a little bit challenging, but I'm very, very excited about it. It's treasurer training. Basically, my part of that will be to understand better how finance integrates with the treasurer's office itself. This training hasn't been done since the conversion. We actually lost 2 people that went through that training, so this training is very important. But it will actually help integrate finance, accounting, and the treasurer. So juggling that with all of our audit prep is going to be an interesting challenge, but I think we can do it.
We know that Virginia Trujillo is not, well, at least at this time, from what we've been told, she is not running again. So it could be a brand new person, and some of our backup is to get Jen really, the deputy treasurer, really trained up in the treasurer department, and then get Vernon as well, because we're gonna have to probably end up training this person who runs for treasurer in a year's time. So, you know, it's crazy that it's only a year away, but it'll be here before we know it. So, yes, ma'am.
Kathy Griffin, so when you do that training, Vernon, is there already documentation?
So there's extensive documentation in the processes. As a matter of fact, the book itself is over 1,000 pages long. And the processes within CSC. The treasurer's duties and responsibilities are usually covered in a new elected official's training process, but that doesn't replace 30 years of experience. Part of this training will be my integration and working with them with the workflows to make certain that the generational knowledge is preserved, because that's going to be incredibly important.
So when you say that it's preserved, is the documentation going to increase?
Well, the CIC documentation is theirs. I'm
Right,
talking about
right.
internal to the county, making certain that we have workflows and duties and responsibilities outlined and how all of that is done.
It's just the transition he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is I have all the respect in the world for Virginia, all the respect in the world. But when she made a comment a couple of meetings ago about it is, my remembrance might be wrong, but when she said that it is customary for the deputy treasurer, Jen, to be elected into that role, you know, should she retire, I was a little bit bothered by that, because I'm like, just because it's the way that it's always been done, doesn't mean that it's the way it should be now. And all 3 of you have constantly made comments about the wealth of, you know, amazing people that we have in this county. And so as it becomes more known that Virginia might be retiring, if someone else wants to step into that role, you know, you talking about doing this training, how prepared are we for that?
Well, this training is going to help us prepare for that.
Well, it's going to help you prepare for
No,
that.
his point is he can make that and train them, whoever it is. He's gonna assume that person's new to the world. The deputy is not, gets a job by default. It
Right,
has
of
to
course
be,
not, of course not.
and so that's
Of course
how it
not.
has to be agnostic to that, and that's the training program he's gotta learn to be able to transfer.
Okay,
Yes, thank
be
you.
able to transfer, that's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Okay,
Anything else from us?
any other people? All right, thanks, Mark.
Did we want to go into the resolutions, or I can come back at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, come back.
Yeah, come back.
Okay.
I'll just stay in line.
Okay. Thank you all.
Okay. Human Services. This is Vicky, and I'd like Vicky to introduce herself to everybody. Please shake your hand. It's okay. It's a custom.
I'll come to you. All right, how was everybody today?
Good, good. And speak up loudly so they can hear. And Vicky's our new DHS director.
Nice to meet everybody. I created some new spreadsheets for everybody so that you could have caseload counts, how much we issued every single month. And then I also did a comparison of last year to this year for each month as well. The first page that we're gonna go over is the actual issuance that we've issued to the clients or participants, community. For TANF, I have $4,132 that was issued in January. Our caseload count is 8 for that. With TANF, that can also include that'll include their monthly amount that they're issued for the family, but could also include supportive services as well if they're requesting any supportive services. Our A&D, our clients, we have 3, and we issued in January $744 to those clients. Old age pension, we actually have 25 cases open, and we issued out $5,476. Childcare, we have 4 cases open. We issued $3,651. LEAP, I won't have a caseload count on LEAP because we don't process the LEAP applications, but I do get a dollar amount from the state as of what was issued out for LEAP to participants in Custer County. And that was $4,397 for the month of January. Out-of-home placements, we have 2 cases for that, and we issued out $6,924. So total issuance for the month of January was $102,772. And I think I skipped over food, I'm sorry. Food assistance, we have 274 families that we are serving, individuals and or families. We issued $77,448 for food assistance. So that's the total issuance of $102,772. Down below that, I also wanted you guys to know how many child welfare intakes that we received in the month of January. We had total referrals of 5. That's how many phone calls came in for child welfare. Screened in, we only had 1. And what that means is that we had 5 phone calls for child welfare. They go to a red team, what's called a red team, a group of people for child welfare, and they either screen in those cases and make that a case, or it gets screened out because it did not meet the child welfare criteria, if that makes sense. The next section is APS. We did not have any phone calls or referrals for APS in the month of January, but we do have 1 case that is open with legal authority.
APS, explain.
Adult Protection Services, yes.
It would be helpful in each of those acronyms if.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Time.
I do apologize.
Yeah, no, that's
And
fine.
please stop me at any time if you have any questions. Child support services, I did want to include that. We do have 76 open cases for child support. And in the month of January, we collected $10,835.60 that went to those families who were receiving those child support funds. And our year-to-date collections so far are $39,167.47.
Big, I have one question, with child welfare intake, is that 5 fairly normal?
Well, we can see on some of the charts,
Okay.
so, I mean, you can have as many phone calls that come in, and they can be even, so we're just counting the number of referrals that were made. So I can have 5 different people call for the same case, or we can have 5 different people call for different people. But that's just how many referrals were made and then placed into what's called red team, and then they make the decision on if it's going to become a case or not. That is the assessment. Does that make sense? Okay. So the charts after the fact are just charts for each category for TANF and food assistance, and it's just a comparison that I did over same time last year. So they're all colored charts that you guys will be able to see when you're able to access those reports.
Yeah, and spell out the names on the charts. That's good. Just keep it.
Oh, I sure will.
Like TANF.
I can do that. So TANF is,
You don't have to do it now.
okay, never mind.
Just
I
make
can
sure
do
it's
that.
on the chart.
It's a test.
Yeah, this is a
Test,
test.
I know,
Marty, you got a question
Thank
first?
you. It's kind of for the future. But recently, you guys don't pay for Medicaid for people who are on Medicaid in this area. So the Rotary Advancers lost a significant amount of money for that. They said they're not a transportation organization. Then just recently, Colorado State fired MediRide. And for instance, I had to pick up a person from Valley Assisted Living because they canceled them. They need rides to the doctors here and there. So I would like the county commissioners in the future to think about supporting the road advancers so that a crime need in this community for people who can no longer drive. Some older people here, you may have your children pull your keys out and you may not. So there's a need here. And so I just want to bring that up to you since we've lost contact with the human services here.
Okay.
So maybe I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I would love it if I could, like if you could come into the office or I could meet with you and we could kind of go over your program and have that information available as well. That would be wonderful.
Sure. Jim?
Real quick, of the 102,000 this month, that's all state money?
Correct.
So all that 77,000 in food assistance is all from the state?
Correct. So that's what we're given to the state, and then that's what we've issued out to anyone who has a case in our office that was approved based on income requirements.
So it's state, but is it SNAP funded federally?
Yeah, so we have state and federal funding,
Yeah.
yes.
So you didn't talk about issuing federal funds?
That will be in here, yes.
Okay.
It's just
there.
all what we've spent
Yeah.
community for the entire month for both programs.
Okay, so did you lose your SNAP funding?
No,
Do you expect to?
not that I have heard anything about for SNAP funding, no.
Okay. Anything else?
I didn't have anything else, no. I just want to kind of go over the new reports so that it was more understandable, and I will add those
Very good.
to the reports as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
Any other issues?
Nope.
You happy?
Oh, yes.
Okay. She's good and she's got a place up here and it's glad to have you aboard. Thanks.
Welcome to the valley.
I've been here for 9.5 years. I just used to work in Fremont County at
That's
Department of Human Services, so. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Okay. Next up, we got a written report from Vince, and we got, I guess what we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So airport wise, I think everybody's caught up on it. But let's see, road and bridge. Vince's biggest problem right now is filling potholes. You may have seen him out there melting oil, tar into the potholes, getting ready to put the top seal on it. Also, we slowed down the speed on Macy on purpose for 2 reasons. The first part of it from Horn Road down to the middle of the valley to Schoolfield is because the speed had to be slowed down because people are putting the throttle down as well as the grade goes downhill and they're going too fast. Past people, ranchers coming in with hay wagons and Amish buggies and that kind of thing. So that 35-mile-an-hour speed is probably going to stay for a while. The other part of that, just so you know, is slowing it down clear to Hermit, because at the end of last year, they were able to get, before the weather got bad, the shoulders braced, ready to put a chip seal on it and seal it. And the way people, and the thaw that happens, and if you're driving too fast, it cuts it out too much before they get to it. So we don't want to destroy that and have to start over again, waste more money. That's why we're doing that. And the sheriff's office is very supportive on that. They're watching that. And in fact, the sheriff has been good with the posse, especially driving around to all roads and making sure that they're visible, so people can be cautious. And we'll talk more about speed control here in a few minutes. Anything that?
No, just if you have a road that has mag chloride on it, you will not see it being bladed because it's just about like concrete right at the moment. And so if we were to you need to put water on the mag chloride in order to cut it properly. Right now is not a good time to put water on the roadway that's already frozen. To do that, it won't work. So you see those that have been mag chloride, they will be conditioned until it thaws out, and they can actually put water on to cut it.
One other thing that Vince pointed out along that line is his big gripe right now, and the sheriff's gonna help on this, people are not paying attention to the work signs ahead, and they're going too fast through the work zones. And we may double the fine through those portions, so that people
We've
let
been,
up on the problem.
we've been fortunate not to have any incidents or anything, but if you've heard about the highway patrols lately, we had 6 or 7 of them that were hit because of weather conditions, and it's all because of speed. So,
Okay,
no slow down.
that's all I got on that. What's the next? Planning and zoning, you got anything to bring up?
No, there's a board meeting coming up on the 4th of March. And I'm working with Dorothy. Dorothy was gone this week. I'll get back with her next week, get caught up with where we're at. And I'm the oversight for that, and I am going through her total book of zoning rules and regulations and everything, where I can be up on that for comment or anything if she's not present.
Her report will be online after this meeting as well. And it has those projects.
That's it.
Okay, we talked about the airport already. Just, the airport report will be online as well. The usual report talks about the fuel sold, and of course you can imagine during the weather, they haven't sold a lot yet. But they are gonna be filling that tank, and they've got the power in there now, the Jet A, which will be a big deal on the emergency services part of the job, because the helicopters for fires and rescue will be able to fuel up there and not go to Fremont County or to Pueblo and waste time on saving a life. And the last thing on that we need to understand, that he asked for that survey on the total airport, and they're gonna finish that up to get one unified survey so they can sell them and plot out new hangars for the police.
101, 2, 106.
Get on there. Landfill.
Now, the landfill currently is up and running. We did have a few days that we had over 20-mile-an-hour winds, and we had to shut down the actual dumping pit area. And but when that happens, they still receive bag material and everything to be put into the building that's right there you drive in straight in at. It's a trash blowing around issue when we get above 20. So hear anybody or whatever, it's a couldn't dump or whatever, that is a reason if we have high winds. Other than that, everything's running smoothly out there, and
Sign the notice, the contract to open up the pit with the state.
that's right, they are.
So the new one is gonna be filled here just in the nick of time.
Right.
And that'll last another 80 years.
That's just to the south of the current one that they have right now. On that.
Okay.
Question?
Question, go ahead.
Kathy Griffin, so Paul, in the past, I know there's been times where during high winds, the landfill will actually close. They'll close the gates, but you're saying now that that's not the procedure?
If someone were to come in with a trailer full of.
Right, I understand that, but
They
so the
won't, but if they
landfill
have
will be
bags in the
open.
back of the pickup, they can,
Okay.
and it will be open unless they actually is a hazard to have it open.
Okay, because one of my cardboard recycling volunteer buddies said that he was out there, I think he said it was a couple of Fridays ago, and he wanted to drop off some metal, and he said the landfill was closed. And I said, well, the only time we know that that happens is if there's extremely high winds, or I know that their holiday schedule gets a little funky, you know, because of the
That was the
regular
most recent
schedule.
one.
Yeah, so I
Right.
said, you know, maybe it was from that, but you're saying that high winds does not cause
Depends
the
on how.
bad portion.
Not normally.
Right, yeah,
But
just
if
the
we're
kids.
getting over 60-mile-an-hour winds,
Oh, absolutely,
they probably will close it because of the now.
okay. All right, I just
If
wanted
you
to
ever been out in
understand.
gravel when you have a 50-mile-an-hour wind,
Oh,
it's like,
I've been out there when some of that comes up, yeah, you
it's
don't
not
wanna be
nice to
there.
be out in the open.
Okay, moving along, speaking of trash, is the recycling, what you care about.
Yeah.
So recycling, of course, we had 308 bales of all materials produced last year. Year to date, 25 through January. 21 bales of all materials produced. 15 bales of those were cardboard. 3 bales mixed paper. 2 bales of aluminum and 1 bale of steel. Year to date, 2025 through January, all material sales so far this year is $4,450.60. Look at here, usually it has the price of what he's getting, but he doesn't have it on here this time. But 40 hours of volunteer time was given this last month. So thank you for the volunteers, and thank you for all those that bring their recyclables to the Waste Diversion Center.
So they had 11 volunteers in January, is that how you read it?
Yeah. Yep, 11 volunteers.
And if I can add to that, everything you just heard being read does not go into the pit. So it makes the life of the pit more reasonable to manage as long as we recycle.
Good program.
Good.
Okay. Williams, a written report. So you doing that? Chippers over there later. Mitigation EM specialist job description needs to be approved by us yet. So I haven't seen it yet. Grants that are normal grants, there's an EMPG grant that sustains OEM quite a bit, and that's in the works. And wildfire outreach, she's gonna be doing a lot of programs to make sure that citizens are aware of the things that they can take advantage of, help clean up the brush around your houses, and the program that they'll have with the veterans someday here soon will be taking advantage of Chipper, and we'll talk about that later. Anything else to bring up?
She did talk, I did talk to her yesterday, the OEM, about a grant, the Homeland Security grant, and some suggestions for some projects there, and it's kind of, you can be a little bit, embellish it, but I think, some things that we may need, you know, we've got a lot of money that's been put into the airport now. So I thought, you know, maybe some cameras at the airport, we got a jet fuel tank there, we should maybe have some cameras on our fuel tanks. And then we got Vermont Tower that is very important to our departments, so putting a camera on Vermont Tower and Bunker Hill Tower would maybe be a good reason to go for that Homeland Security grant and get some cameras up on those sites so we can at least monitor those, you know, just like we have to monitor our finances. These sites are part of our assets, part of what our need structure is. So maybe putting cameras on those to monitor those sites and be aware of what's happening out there or
Yeah, time
you
to
know,
do your
whatever's
camera.
might go on, so, yeah, so, I just wanted to bring it up.
But what about fencing around some of that stuff? Just thinking, you know, what was it, a year or two ago, there were people getting into like electrical stuff, I think, and because that is so important.
Now, that's a good idea, because Vermont has zero fencing around it. You have to go through a barbed wire gate to get up to it, and a steep hill, but there's no controlled access to the site itself.
Other than the door.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I'll mention that to you if you don't first. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You'll probably see her first, but thank you.
Okay.
Just,
All right, extension report.
That's Mr.
Oh,
Paul.
I mean, that's all.
no, it's me, and I tried to get a hold of her, and she is not, did not answer. She is down in, she's in Fort Collins this whole week and everything, so I did not get any input from her, and according to the report, everything looks normal. So, unless you guys have any comment on that.
Yeah, the fair has been set for July 11th through the 20th, 2025. She did attend the Conservation District annual weed board meeting in Pueblo with one of the board members, two of the board members. So we're, our weeds, pests and weeds they're in the Colorado Revised Statutes that we maintain a program and keep up that program. So the board's kind of gotten rebuilt and is starting to actively engage. So
The other thing, she's looking for a 4-H coordinator, so past the work. To be in her coordinator.
Currently looking for someone to fill that. Oh, and I mentioned
Questions?
at the conference last
Hey, Dan. Hey.
Western weeds or. But yeah, if you do know anybody, you are trying to get someone to fill that position, so. Get the word out. That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on, the next one up is Kids Council. She got a written report this time.
So this is from Stacy Terrell. She manages the Custer County Kids Council report. January 16th and 17th, she attended the quarterly Early Childhood Council Leadership Alliance refresher on how to read the Colorado Department of Early Childhood contracts. These are the contracts that the BOCC chair signs each year on behalf of the Custer County Kids Council. Lodging tax was discussed and how different counties are utilizing that for early childhood supports. That is some counties have chosen to take portions of the lodging tax that's currently capped at 2% for counties, and they're currently dividing that up. Some of it still goes to tourism, others of it goes to attainable or affordable housing, and others of it goes to childcare. And that bill is still in committee or somewhere in that range as to, I think they're talking about taking the cap from 2% to 6%, but then it would be up to each individual county as a ballot initiative to what are we gonna take that to and what would the breakouts be for each of those departments. Universal preschool enrollment started for school year 25-26. On January 31st, we had a half-day preschool almost full and a full-day preschool almost full as well. Robin Gady, our home provider, still has 3 UPK slots available, assuming she has space within her 9 childcare slots. Worked on updating the Custer County Kids Council bylaws and collecting member MOUs as well as required documents for the upcoming RFA process. Conversations have started around CCKC being prepared for whatever might happen long-term with federal funding. 80% of CCKC funds do come from federal grants. There's now a bill also being placed in there that would remove her as the local control. It's about $50,000 to $60,000 of her budget, and the schools are looking for that, especially the bigger schools. The rural schools aren't. Rural counties are really for keeping this in place and keeping the kids' councils in place. But the big, larger schools and larger counties are looking for that money. They would rather have it, and they would rather do that program. So we'll see what comes out of Denver this year on that and see what it will look like for Custer County Kids Council starting July, because she's pretty good through the end of this fiscal year, which ends up being June 30th of 25, but we'll see what the 25-26 year looks like. So that's all I have for Custer County Kids Council. Can we take a break?
Rest just 1 second. Dan, you got anything before we take a break?
No, it's just we have a number of residents who think that asking for forgiveness is better than asking for permission to deal with the planning and zoning. So that's why I was late. I was recording those issues.
Thank you. Good. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be back in 5. Break it.
Kate was in the hot seat.
Okay, Spill Canada, we're back on the line with the meeting. It's 10:37, and we're going to listen to the VSO report that was not given yet. He's here, and come on up, Dominic.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Run down the line here.
See you.
Yeah, you look a lot better.
You look a lot better than we saw you a week ago.
Well, being carted off in an ambulance. My wife was like calling 911. Delaney was like calling, I'm like, I'm not going in an ambulance. And then 20 minutes later, I'm going in an ambulance.
At his request.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at that point, yeah, it was.
I don't care, just take me.
Yeah, for real.
You look better, you feel better, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. All right, I'll try and run through this quickly. I'll give you my CBA 26, so we have that and we don't forget to sign it. All right, so last month, it's quite a busy month. I was in the office all 16 days, 63 scheduled appointments, 23 of those no-shows, 28 walk-ins. The walk-ins were a lot higher, I just couldn't remember who else would have walked in, and I forgot to put it on my calendar. New power of attorneys is 12. Intent to files, I had 46 that I put in for intent to files. 11 new claims, 9 supplementals, and again, and supplementals on higher level reviews is because the VA denied and I'm pushing back. So between those 10. 1 IU claim I put in, so that made 6 total, and again, 3 of those are favorable. And then total claims, I finished out the year finished out January at 390. With 312 of those being rated. No new burial reimbursements, no new survivor benefits, no new debt waivers. Increase in compensation, 56 of those 88 first-time claims are now service-connected, so 63% of those. The numbers are highlighted in yellow. Those are what we finished out the year with, and I've not added going into 2025 because obviously there's a COLA adjustment. So that everybody's stuff gets increased, so I'm just going with the blue stuff now, and I'm just reporting for this year. So I'm not tallying all my numbers on top of each other, so I'm just reporting for the year. So January 25, I had 17 claims rated. Retro payments totaled 7,600, a little bit over. Monthly increases now at 7,700. Projecting through the end of the year, it comes out to 96,000. 4 of those claims that were rated had to go through the DFAS VBA audit, so I don't have their back payments calculated into this. As far as going into the other counties, there was a change in Fremont County, there was a change in Pueblo County, and then there was a change in Washington State. And again, that's another veteran that I was helping prior to me saying no more from out of state or out of the neighboring counties, yeah. So of the total number of dollars coming in, and again, I'm not counting that cost of living adjustment, the total dollar amount coming into Custer County is 1.75 million coming into Custer County, of the almost 3 million at this point. New money. And again, that's annual. It's not, just with a one-time deal, that's annual. For my grant, I've assisted 10 veterans total, and that's coming out to $11,360. I used a little bit over 2,000 for marketing, so I've still got 1,000 left for marketing. 7,000, a little bit over 7,000 is being reimbursed out of that 11,000 from the state. I've still got 2 pending coming back from the state. I've got $1,800 available out of my seed money to use, but again, when those other 2 reimbursements come back, I'll be back to my full 6,000. So I've got about half of my grant is still available. So I'm projected to go through that before the end of the fiscal year, well, state's fiscal year, so before the end of June. Charitable donations, 7 donations totaling $4,000, assisted 5 individuals at $1,900, so I've got a little bit over $2,000 available. I did have somebody reach out to me asking me if I can help a widow with firewood, so I'm just waiting for her receipt so I can pay that bill for her. I did take care of a widow, found out that she did not, I think I talked about it last month, but she did not have a working stove. So I was able to use this money to pay for that working stove. So she got that delivered last month. Outreach, American Legion post-meeting, that was canceled due to the weather. Wetmore walk-in, I had 4 veterans and 1 widow that showed up. And again, I'm gonna continue doing that as long as people show up. We had our quarterly Veterans Roundtable, where we met with everybody, and you all got an opportunity to meet with Bruce Cowan, the director for the Division of Veterans Affairs for the state. I met with Advanced Service Dogs. They're an outfit out of Canyon City. It's a veteran and his wife is actually blind, and she's trained 61 service animals since she became blind. But they're standing up their own nonprofit for training service animals. They've been massive in doing fundraisers to support, service dogs and training of service dogs. Last year's fundraiser, they raised $29,000. But they're standing up their own entity, and they asked me to be on their board and be their member at large and tap into the veterans community, which I'm happy to do, and so I'm sitting on their board. Veterans Coffee Social, still averaging about 10. I think we had about 12 yesterday. And then we had obviously no Veterans Coffee on Christmas Day and New Year's because somebody scheduled those days on a Wednesday for some reason. And I'm still sharing stuff on my social media. We did do our Women's Veterans Coffee. We had our first one this last month. This month actually. And we had 4 female veterans show up. So that was good turnout. So hopefully as the word gets out and the weather improves, we'll start getting some more showing up. Because my plan is to bring Amy Domingue out. She is the Women's Veteran Service Officer for the state. She's actually based out of Colorado Springs, so once we start getting those numbers up, then I'll bring her out so she can talk with the ladies there. I did go to the Wet Mountain Valley Community Foundation meeting on the 3rd this month. American Legion meeting, I was there. I did not go to the Wetmore Walking Clinic this last week because I was indisposed. No, I was not. I'll make up the time at some point and get over there. But the individuals I am working with over there, they knew that I was not coming over there. And there's 2 individuals I'm working on their claims, so it's gonna be a case of they're just gonna come to my office, so we'll figure something else out. The CVA 26s that we turn in, we report the actual hours that we're working. So like if we're salaried, and obviously it's salaried, but if I was an hourly employee, I would report my hours accurately to you. So I'm staying within those 40 hours or 20 hours or whatever I'm working. But on the CVA 26, we should be reporting accurately how many hours, because that's how the state pays back. A lot of counties use these as their timesheets, and they're not tracking that. Well, you know what, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. I'm going to report my hours accurately on this so we can get the right amount of dollars back. So we got our stipend back for July through December, and they gave us just short of $11,000. So it puts us actually a little bit ahead of what I was projecting for the year. Going back to what I was saying about accredited and non-accredited and accessing VBMS, the state did mandate, and this is something I pushed heavily on when I was at the state, is those VSOs using VBMS and accessing that Veterans Benefits Management System so they can see veterans records, claim history, all that stuff. So they did mandate it, and they were told by February 5th or February 6th they had to have it. Otherwise they were losing their accreditation, and the state wouldn't get their stipend, or the county would not get their stipend. Well, they cut 9 counties off because those 9 VSOs did not get access to VBMS and did not put in their application to get VBMS, so they cut them off. So there's a lot of humming and hawing, but you know what, you were told, and they were told in September at the fall training. So great for us, because now it leaves more money in the pot when we go to do the CVA 26.
Well,
no, they're gonna, nope, they will not get their stipend back. They will not be eligible to receive that stipend until they get access to VBMS. So,
but when they do,
then they'll be allowed back in to apply. But for those months they didn't have it, they won't be considered. Yeah. Right. So and getting access to VBMS is not a quick, you sign some paperwork and you get access. The VA has to do background checks. It takes, a couple months.
Yeah.
So, you know, my assistant, that's maybe one of the big pushes I do is getting her access to VBMS.
Yeah.
I guess, can we announce who it is at this point, the
I
assistant?
would think so.
So Courtney Shank is gonna be the assistant VSO. She's actually slated to start, on Monday. So I'll have to get her spun up and get her access into our systems. So once she has access into our systems, then she'll be good to go. Initially, she'll just be doing intakes, I say just, getting the people entered into the database, doing the power of attorney. And that'll alleviate that off of my plate, and I can focus more on claims and start pumping out a few more claims. But then the goal is to get her doing some claims as well. But that's not gonna be the heavy brunt of what she's doing. She's here in town.
Is she?
Yeah.
Good.
So, and she's an Air Force veteran. Not that I played a part, I wasn't passed.
Air Force is good.
But she was also a first sergeant, so she has a lot of, has a lot of first line, understanding of dealing with issues.
Yeah.
So, and seems like a very organized person, which is what I need in the office. So, I think we'll be good to go with her.
She ride a motorcycle?
I don't think so. I never asked.
With wings, with silver.
We did have 2 or 3 really good applicants, so, and it was close between her and another individual. It was very close. Very, very close.
Good deal. All right, any questions, anybody? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, you said that it's $1.7 million annually coming into the county?
Yes.
That's VA benefits to the veterans here?
Correct. That's increase, not total, that's increase.
Okay, so total is even more?
Yes.
Okay, so the question I have then is, given the current attack on federal funding, do you have any plans on assisting veterans whose benefits are inevitably going to be cut by this administration?
I can't say inevitably because nothing's inevitable. Well, I mean, you can say inevitable, but it's speculation.
I can say whatever I want.
Right, but it's speculation. It's speculation. So
No,
until something actually happens, I can't say one way or the other because.
So you're not going to plan for it?
But how can I plan, if they cut the funding and all those veterans lose that money, how can I plan to cover that loss? That's a massive amount of
I'm
money.
not saying you're planning to cover, planning on doing something about it.
I can tell you one, it would never happen. We have too many veterans lobbying on the Hill that it would never happen where they would cut funding.
They've already started to cut the VA itself.
The VA, yes. And I'm gonna say this, because I get this all the time.
So you're not gonna, you don't have any plans for veterans benefits being arbitrarily cut?
No, there's no way I can plan
That's
for
the
that.
answer to my question.
Right, but there's no way I can plan for that.
Marty?
Dominic, I appreciate everything you've done for the veterans in this county. But I am concerned, because even before the VA in Colorado Springs started cutting back, and then they had a freeze on new doctors and nurses. And then I got this 2 days ago, that the Pueblo VA clinic radiologist is down because of staffing issues, and if I wanted to go to the radiologist, I have to go to Colorado Springs. So I'm concerned with our president, and I don't consider myself a loser or a sucker, but I don't like what's happening to the VA. And I guess all I'm doing is complaining, but the facts are here. Things are happening, and they're getting into my information. So this is really just for the county to know that this is one dissatisfied veteran. Okay, thank you.
I'll say this, keeping healthcare providers is a national problem. We have a national shortage of healthcare providers. That's just a fact. So it's not because of this administration, I don't want to go into politics, but it's not because of this administration, that's just a fact. We have a national shortage. So they're talking about putting a VA clinic in Canyon City, and I laugh because I'm like, you can't even keep this clinic staffed in Pueblo, and you can't keep this clinic staffed in Salida. So why are we all talking about spending more government money to open another clinic in Canyon? It makes no sense. So the fact that they've lost radiologists, I mean, when I was in Junction, they had lost their lab support, so they couldn't keep the ER open when I was in Grand Junction. So they were having to refer, all emergencies had to go on the economy versus the VA because they didn't have the lab support. They do now, but they didn't. So for months, I want to say it was over a year, the ER was closed. And they were having to do recruiting and bringing people in, and they had to figure out covering the cost of stipends for people to move, so they could staff the lab, just so they could reopen the ER in Grand Junction at the VA there.
And that, of course, is my problem. If they're not hiring new people and they don't have enough staff already, what is the situation gonna be for veterans in the future?
I can't answer that question.
I know. I'm just throwing that out.
That's above my pay grade.
I understand.
But I experience, I'm a veteran myself, so I experience those same, concerns, but again, we have a ton of people, veterans, lobbying for veterans on Capitol Hill, and I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
Good points, and thanks. And as you know, he's a go-getter, and he's into everything.
Without him.
We're lucky to have him.
Yes, we truly are.
I
Appreciate
would expect that we'll see an increase from Fremont County here,
Why?
because one of their VAs resigned and the other one's gonna retire here real soon.
So I know the one, she reached out to me and said that she was done. Her last day, I think, is the 3rd or the 5th of March. And then the other individual, she kind of alluded to that it's probably gonna be December before he retires, so.
What's the Springs look like? They can take a load with it.
The Springs have 94,000
They got a lot
veterans,
of people.
and they have a team of 11
What?
ESOs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, they track their metrics so they can go back to their commissioners and advocate.
Right.
And that's again, the critical piece is just educating. When I first started at the state, they had 8 and they're up to 11.
Yeah.
That's been in the span of 3 years. So.
Mary, or Kathleen.
Is Courtney's position a grant-funded position? I seem to remember you asking for a part-time assistant a while ago and that it was through a grant.
We're using LATCF funds to fund that this year.
To get it started.
Yeah, to get started.
Does that mean grant? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a grant. That's, was the last of the COVID money that came out.
So that's a given, we got that, but the
Right.
issue is the next year, and it would be
That's-
on whatever he's gonna figure out.
We'll figure out whether we're gonna make that out of the general budget. Is that gonna come out of the general budget, or are we gonna take more LATCF money and
Okay.
apply it to that?
So at this point, your intention is to have an assistant permanently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he needs it,
That's-
and,
Yes,
and we
I
fund part of it as well.
thought about volunteering for him too, but.
And I would love to have people come volunteer. The problem with that is HIPAA,
Exactly.
because I'm dealing with people,
Yeah, that's-
health information, so, and that's where that part comes into play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
Okay, anybody else? Move on.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you.
2 o'clock.
Thank you, sir.
And again, I say it every time, but I appreciate you all support.
Good job.
Thanks, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I will move that we approve the CBA 26 for our Veterans Service Officers.
Second? I'll second.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the VSO's report.
Oh, I did just come from a meeting with the landing well, so that's the Custer County Council on Aging. So I'm gonna leave some of these cards here, they asked me to leave some here, so I'll leave them up here.
All in favor, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. 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 See you at 2.
Yes, sir. Are we doing it over in the annex building?
We'll let you know.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Here.
We're gonna do it in, oh, that's right, we're gonna be here. We're gonna do it here.
Okay, okay. Okay, see you. Thank you.
One last interruption, and I apologize.
It won't be last.
Okay, obviously I have a little bit of concern about something, and since Dominic, who is the go-getter, wasn't able to positively answer my question, I have a question for the 3 of you. Collectively, we have over $750,000 in federal grant funds. Do you have, or are you thinking about contingencies for that money when it gets cut off?
In fact, you've been meeting.
I've been meeting with Sarah Bartleson. I've had 2 meetings with her already about what's gonna happen if that grant money goes away. What programs are we gonna keep? What does public health look like? Starting to put a plan together to cover 3 different scenarios. First scenario is staying with what we have now. 2 is a hybrid, some of it goes away, but not all of it goes away, and we're kind of putting a priority as to what we think is gonna go away first and what will remain after that. And then what if it all goes away, and what does the department look like then? What may we have to backfill with more county, property tax dollars that come into the general fund?
I'm confused, why are we talking about public health only?
Because they got grants.
Well,
It's
because
not-
I'm over public health, that's where I've started
The
this
answer is yes, we are looking at it.
conversation.
So for public health, what about the rest of the money?
So we'll have to look at DHS and see DHS has a lot that comes from federal funds.
Kids council.
Yeah,
And
all
kids
those
And
others.
Kids Council, we've talked to them
Would
too,
OEM
and DHS.
What?
Doesn't OEM too?
And OEM as
OEM is
well.
half funded, so we can talk with her as well. Yeah.
So.
And
so
in
you're
fact, it'll be a bigger issue than that too, Jim, because it affects all the states. So the state will be weighing in on what they're gonna wanna see continue, and we're gonna follow the law on that. Because by law, we had to do a public health agency and a DHS kinds of things, and so they're gonna have to narrow down what is more
Well,
important.
yeah, I mean, by law,
So it's a
you
bigger
have to have a public health
But right
Sure.
now, it's,
in the county, but.
I'm not arguing that, I'm just
No,
pointing out,
Yeah.
it's a bigger team effort than just us sitting here and trying to. figure it
Right,
out.
I mean, there's state pass
Right.
through and whatever, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that you have wonderfully, budgeted for and everything, are just
Sure, all
go away.
bets are off.
And, I just hope that we're preparing for that.
Nobody's an ostrich like that, sitting here.
yeah.
Okay, now we'll get into the new business. So this is approval of the wage adjustments, so come on up, Bob.
All right, so this is an extension of when I began building the classification pay scale that we talked about previously. I began looking at, in order to build that, began looking at what employees are making within each position, and then comparing that for how long they've been in the position compared to their wages and next to their similar positions. It became clear that we had some what's commonly called compression issues, which happens when there's not a lot of attention or close looking at how employees are moving in relationship to each other within a pay grade or within a position. So what happens is you end up with situations where an employee who has significant years of service making less than somebody recently hired with less years of service, as an example, 9 years of service compared to someone with 2 or 3. And so their wages are reversed compared to their years of service or training or experience. You try to avoid that when you're managing employee wages and compensation. So identified some departments and employees within those positions to fix that.
So just to be clear, so everybody understands, I know you understand what he said, the problem we've had in the past, each department did their own thing, from way long ago until just recently, and we're very lucky to have Bob come on and turn this into a professional HR program. And this is one of the first things that we've taken a look at to make sure we get a pay grades, sort of like government service step grades and that kind of thing. So it's gonna be a county-wide thing, and
Right.
this is the first step right here.
Right, yeah, so what caused is the siloing, which is departments kind of doing their own thing, and there's not one overall arching philosophy or process of managing employee compensation, all that stuff. So this is what I would call a balancing. So we have one employee in the clerk's office, 2 in the assessor's office, 1 in landfill, 1 in recycling, and 7 in road and bridge. That I would like to make some adjustments. I'm not gonna talk about specific employees, that would not be appropriate, for a total of $34,320 with adjustments to their budgets within that Vernon would have to do a wage.
And you
supplemental
worked
program.
that with him, so.
Yeah.
and Lucas won't chime in.
So the budget amendment resolutions will happen if this gets approved. If this doesn't get approved, there's no budget amendment resolutions to be put together, so those will come next week, Thursday, on that meeting, if we approve this.
And the money's gonna come from where?
So the money will have to come out of cash reserves, so.
It'd be a one-time adjustment, and then, of course, the increase would go on throughout,
The
it's
next
not a
year's budget
one-time,
would
but
change.
it's added to the budget for as long as they're here.
Are
Yes,
the adjustments retroactive?
they would be effective from the date that they make the adjustment, but it would be included in the budget. So I'm not gonna go back to January, because the board hasn't approved it.
I don't want to get into specifics, but one guy mentioned a specific, and it was Vernon. He's truly not making $17 an hour.
No, that was a joke.
I missed that.
I think he said he started at 19.
At least he's above minimum wage.
I missed
No,
that.
you missed some meetings, Marty, but the bottom line is he's a director of finance at a salary rate.
Marty's going, I'm gonna hire
You
that
go-
guy.
you go-
$40
You can get online and look at what he's making.
See, I guess the jokes are your sense of humor.
Yeah, well, I feel a lot better. I do have a question about performance. Do you have a performance rating of people every 6 months or a year?
The county has not, I couldn't tell, because this is before my time, for a while, has not done performance reviews, in which you're talking about is merit-based pay, and the county does not have a merit-based pay system. One of the things that I've talked to the board about in my long-term stuff is to look at trying to move that direction. But even, you can do performance reviews without merit-based pay, but right now they're not.
And that's been a case that I've been on since I got here, because we didn't do it. We did it for a few times when Donna Hobby was here as the HR finance director, and she did pass out some things, and we did it. But then when she left, and it hasn't happened. And that's the beauty of having a professional HR department now. We have to do performance reviews. That's the way I want it.
And I think, and what upset me about several of these firings that we're getting to the government is that they're putting down poor performance review, and some of these people have never had a performance
That's right.
review. That is just an insult and a disgrace. So I think we should have performance reviews, whether you give it merit or not, just to.
Right.
You have to have a track record in most cases. And even though the Colorado's a no fault, how do you say it? It's a word.
At will.
At will state, we don't have to even use that. I mean, but you gotta be able to defend it against a lawsuit. And the best way you can do that is have a track record and performance reviews, et cetera.
I think it's a good idea.
That's part of the stuff when I was here before, that's part of that overall plan for building the department, that's built into that.
Okay, any other discussion up here first?
No, it just promotes merit, so.
Okay, anything, any other questions, I think, out here? I think we're good. All right, do I have a motion?
You want to vote?
I will make a
I don't have
motion
the
to
total.
approve the wage adjustments,
Oh, that's right.
one time, at
Total
$34,320.
And Paul, and I'll second the motion that we increase,
decompress the scale.
decompress.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay, so we'll see a resolution.
Yes, sir.
Long overdue.
Sheriff's vehicles, this is something we've talked about in the past. This is been a catch-up. And the sheriff has a little presentation on it for us to understand.
And I'll turn it over to Mike.
Hey,
Sir. Commissioner.
Morning, sir.
Introduce yourselves and we'll go from there.
Yes, Rich Smith, Sheriff, and Mike Delarentis, Chief of Staff. So last year, as you remember, Sheriff had tasked me with trying to come up with ways to replace our fleet at a more reasonable cost. I did present a program, that we talked about at an open meeting. Sheriff went to a conference in January and found out that the vehicle costs have gone through the ceiling. That same vehicle, a Tahoe, which we have been purchasing for last year and the year before, are now up to $92,000 completely equipped. He said that's outrageous. A lot of the sheriffs there said, we just can't afford it. We're gonna have to look at other alternatives. So he tasked me again to see what I can come up with. So I was able to come up with Chevy 2024 Chevy Police heavy-duty work trucks, white, all set to go. We save about $16,000, $16,171.23 per vehicle because they had some hail damage. I've looked at all the pictures, looked at the hail damage. I don't think it's a big thing. It's not that bad. If we wanted to replace the hood, which took the most beating because they're a thin aluminum hood, you're looking at $600 to $800 if we wanted to. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. It didn't affect the paint at all. They're all still warranties. So the dealer approached me on that and said, you know, I've got a Ford. So he gave us a package for all three vehicles. The bottom line is, and we're going to be short and sweet, the bottom line is for $107,797.67, we could purchase three vehicles. Everything outfitted with all the lights and stuff we have, getting them all installed, comes to $115,912.67. 5-year lease program, which is at the end of the lease, you own the vehicles, $26,422.31 at a 5% interest rate. You guys should have that photocopy in the packet they gave you of that. We would sell a total, I think I've got it worked out, we'd sell between 4 and 6 vehicles, get rid of the prisoner transport van, because now these vehicles that we have purchased, the Tahoes that are a little bigger, we're not housing 7, 8, 10 prisoners at a time. It's contracted out. The sheriff saved quite a bit of money with that by contracting out. So we could still transport anywhere between 1 and 3 prisoners in a Chevy Tahoe or a pickup truck with the cages, not endangering any of the deputies at all. And we'd still do our standard procedure, you know, of 2 deputies and another vehicle. So we'd be able to get rid of our oldest vehicle, 2008, a 2012, a 2014, a 2016, and I can't remember, don't hold me to this, but the prisoner van is, I believe, a 12. And go into a 10-year replacement program with everything that we're doing. And with the sale of those vehicles, either to other police departments on a government website, or stripping them, taking everything out of it, the stickers and everything, selling them on eBay or Amazon or that same government site to citizens, we'd be able to pay between 2 and 3 years of that 5-year payment plan. And my goal would be to pay it off within 3 to 5 years, pay it off early, save a little extra money, and then have no payments as we come up to the 2029 and 2030 is starting to replace the 18s, 19s and that.
And that's within your budget now.
Say what?
That's within your budget now.
Yes.
And so,
If we sold those vehicles.
If we sold the vehicles. We've got,
So we'd sell the oldest ones, which is the 3 Dodge pickups, and then take 3 Dodge Durangos and make those the posse trucks.
so we keep the 1 truck that has the new engine in it because that's brand new and 3-year warranty. The other 3 pickup trucks would be sold or done with whatever the county and we work out to make those payments. And then the van, again, would be another vehicle. So we'd have, if we sold the 6 I'm talking about at, I'm just gonna go lowest numbers possible, 10,000 a piece. You're looking at $60,000. That's over 2 years of the payments right there, right up front. And what I'd like to do is get those on the market right away. So as spring is coming up, I've talked to some of the local people here and dealers. Right now, the used pickup trucks have a big resale market, 12 to 15,000, even with the mileage I'm talking about on some of them, because the price of new pickups are through the ceiling.
Sure.
So they said I actually had one dealer say, I'll buy all 3 of your pickup trucks from you, but I said, no, we've got to put them in an auction type thing or on a website. He goes, well, you let me know when you put them up and I'll bid on them. He goes, because I got customers that ask me all the time.
They're all
pickup
four-wheel
trucks.
drive.
All 4-wheel drive, 4-door, crew cab, heavy-duty police.
They all got
police
over
package.
160,000 miles.
150, 160, 189, those 3 pickups. The van has around 125, 130.
You have the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
The van's got 166.
Oh, the van has 166?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
The posse, number 7, that's got the new motors that are sitting there at around 160.
So we're keeping that on the street.
Yep.
Okay.
14 and the 14
Posse number 8, that's a 2012, it's got 181,000 miles on it. I take it you're selling the Trailblazer, that 2008?
That's 111,000.
111,
Yep.
yeah. So what are the other?
There should be a 16 Chevy, I'm sorry, Dodge Ram. I've got it.
Dodge Ram, that's a 2014 with 135 on it. What'd you say?
I think it's vehicle 8 and 9.
It should be 8 or 9.
8 and 9, yep, 9, yep, that's right, 8 and 9. And then, so that's 4 of them, what's the other 2?
You got three Dodge pickups, there
Yep.
should be.
And then the Chevy Trailblazer, the
Chevy
Chevy van.
Trailblazers,
The van.
4,
And then
the van is
vehicle
5.
Durango number 19, which is a K9 van, a K9. And we actually think we can get 30,000 for that, best case scenario.
So
Yeah,
the
best case scenario,
Durango-
it's got the lowest mileage, it's only, so
75,000.
that's something we gotta weigh. I gotta look at the 217
76.
Durangos compared to the K9 Durango, which is a 2021, which only has 77,000 miles on it. The other 2 Durangos are in the high 80s, high 90s. So I gotta figure out which one is the best to keep, and do we wanna keep that spare K9 as a posse vehicle in case we have to have some serious maintenance on the K9 vehicle we have
Reserve
now.
vehicle.
So that, or sell the K9 vehicle, because that has a lot of value at 77,000 miles, and it's all equipped as a K9 vehicle. There may be another police department out there who's starting a K9 program. As a stripped vehicle, that Durango would go for about 22 to 25,000. When you add all that K9 equipment, which is about $10,000.
And it's top of the line K9 stuff.
Yeah,
the
that
sensor
they
and
had
everything.
purchased back in 2021. It becomes more desirable to a police department because a new K9 vehicle is gonna cost them $70,000 to $90,000.
And we don't need a K-9 vehicle now.
We have
We
one.
have one.
You got that,
We
yeah.
replaced it, so that we just kept this
Oh,
as a
that's
spare.
So,
So we're asking your approval to buy 3 vehicles, which we think we've got an unusually good deal on, and then dispose of at least 3 vehicles, which would pay the first year's payment.
3 to 6, yeah.
But we could sell 6 vehicles, and I don't know what we would do with the money in the
And what's
meantime.
that payment? It's gonna be in your
He's
budget.
got
26,422.
per year.
It'd be 26,422, 31 per year at 5% interest, 5-year program, and it'd be you own them at the end of the 5 years.
Yeah, that's better than paying the whole show.
180, 100, at one shot, or even $100,000 at one shot. Or, I mean, when we were looking at that program, I went, trying to save us money, which we were then, it was still a $50,000 payment, a $39,000 payment for 2 vehicles. So we're saving money in the long run, we're updating the fleet, so we have a good fleet that can respond to citizens' needs. We got spring and summer coming up where we got more tourists coming in. So, but we alleviate all those high mileage vehicles. They're
So we authorize, X money already.
You authorized, I think, in the neighborhood of 100,000.
Right, and
Right.
and that was with no
46,000.
outfitting.
46,000.
Oh, for one vehicle?
Well, we're gonna start making payments.
Oh,
That
okay,
was-
okay.
that was
46
what
for
we
2
had
was
talked
that
about.
39 something, I think they came up with per year. So you're looking at when you outfit the vehicle, and these will be outfitted, included in that price. So I've already divided all the new sirens, lights that the sheriff got
Yeah,
from the
that's a
state
big
police,
deal.
everything's sitting there. And those, in this price, the final price of the 115 is the outfitting cost, everything, so there'll be nothing else that has to come on these.
Okay.
Like when the ones we bought before, they had to go up the laws, we just got the last one, it sat there a year before they were outfitted.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
Yeah, so you lose a use of a vehicle for a year.
Like this guy say, how quickly would he get the cars to us?
The cars we can get next week, once they're signed. Outfitted everything, about 2 weeks per car. He's way behind, but we go to a different person, and he take one car at a time, take him about 2 weeks max, because we have all the equipment,
He's swapping them now.
not even swap, but just put them in. We don't have to strip any of those. The other ones we'd strip, if they didn't go to a police department, yeah, we'd have to strip those, but we're gonna take some of the stuff off of those if we don't sell them, like sirens, little stuff that we can use in new cars and save us money in the long run.
Does the county want to keep any of these vehicles for county use?
The 3 trucks.
They all run good.
The unassigned K9 or the Dodge Durango K9, we should sell that. If we're not gonna use that, we should sell that, because that's probably top dollar.
That could be
vehicle to
30
pay.
grand, that's what we're guessing.
And then you're basically, if you can get the same amount for that as what that Ford Ranger's at, you're at a wash, and you're paying for it, we're not paying interest on that.
Right.
Recycle needs a new truck, and we gotta sell that one. That one's not gonna be worth anything,
Maintain.
and it's starting to give us fits.
And
Building and
mileage
ground,
wouldn't matter so much because they don't drive it.
they don't drive a lot. Buildings and grounds, same way, we're not putting on a lot of miles. Road and bridge, we have a lot of times, there's 3 guys and 2 vehicles going out to sites, and a 4-door for them would help alleviate the amount of gas that we spend sending 2 vehicles out when one could do it, so.
You're seeing that, Commissioner, you're seeing that more and more at other road and bridges and like municipalities where they used to go with the 2-door truck, or now they're going to the 4-door because they can take more people in one vehicle instead of 2 or 3.
Absolutely.
More shovels to lean on.
And then, yeah, sell the van. What do you think you can get out of that van?
Minimum 10 grand. I saw some that were going for 15 and 16 again. I'm hoping that we find a sheriff's department that needs a van that's already equipped with light sirens and cages.
And there is a website that for.
Yes.
And that would be the first place you'd go.
Yeah, golfdeals.com, it's all, you have to sign up, it's all across the country.
Yeah.
Municipalities, sheriff's departments, everything, so I see a lot of that going, that's where I'm getting a lot of the prices, I watch what they go for and see where we're at, and then I go on and KBB the vehicles, like I KBB'd that Ford, sir, the used one, and we're right there with his price, so it's not like he's making $5,000 on us, no, we're right there.
What's their timing on how good this deal is? Do we need approval today, or do we come back with it?
I respectfully request approval today.
Yeah, he's holding, he's already had, he's fighting off 2 other agencies, police agencies, and that does include civilian agencies, because these are heavy-duty work trucks with the 220 amp, the heavy-duty cranshafts and everything. So he's fighting people off, he's holding them for us right now, I don't know how much.
What dealer is it?
Colorado Springs.
Yeah, it's, Longmont, the Reds, I'm sorry, mark sheet. It should be on the top of your thing, Reds,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he bought them, they were at a rail yard sitting to go, and they got the hail damage, and he bought them from there, from the insurance company, so.
And frankly, all of the vehicles already have dents and scratches on them.
Yeah.
Little dent.
They have I included the sticker price on them was 52 something, and like I said, one's got 24 miles and one has 17, I believe, on them right there, and they're the same engine, same trans, everything is in the police package. Tahoe's exactly the same.
So the other nice thing that would be about selling the van is then we could, because we'll have, there's at least, so the K9 unit, we have a lease payment on yet. And one of the other Durangos, I think we have 2 payments left. We could probably take almost those whole payments out, and then we would be done with those. So the only lease payments that we'd have left is the 2 pickups, the 2 Chevys, and everything else then would be paid for cash. And
And what's nice is with the.
roughly that.
With this LS leasing out of the Springs, we can tailor it if we want the payments to start August, or we want them to start December, or we want them to start from the time we take the cars, if we take the cars next week, they could start February 26th. We could set that, so.
And this all needs to wrap through capital improvements, because that's where our money goes to purchase vehicles. So I'll make a motion that we sell the 2008, we sell the unassigned K-9 vehicle, and we sell the blue detention transport van. We sell those three, and we lease, just for simple motion, we lease these three vehicles, and then we will deal with the financing. Just finance them, and we'll deal with the payments on back end, so make sure that we have early payoff, that there's no penalties for early payoff.
Yeah, there is no, I checked, there is no penalty for early payoffs or anything. And then
So the total amount would be what we see.
Yeah, 8, 9, and 10, the three pickups. Did you want to discuss those later? Those will go, but do you want to discuss?
So I'd like those to go back to the citizens in the county, and then we need to redistribute those amongst the three. I could sell them, but then I have to go out and I have to pay even more money to buy it for the other.
And I would drive any one of those on a regular basis, not as a police vehicle anymore, but on a regular basis. They've been well maintained by the county shops, so they would work perfect.
In fact, we have a posse guy who does weekly cleaning and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, you guys take care of those.
Do you want us to strip them out then, or leave the light bars? We'll take the cage out and siren out.
Only for road and bridge.
Yeah.
Would I leave the light bar?
Okay.
Just so that if they set that up, they can have the blues and reds on right before a construction zone, right? Maybe it'll help deter.
You want to leave the stickers on?
Just park it.
Good, and that way they slow down.
No, let's not. Let's be mindful of.
So is that one stripped, or you want, two stripped and leave one with the bar, or leave all three with stuff on?
No, strip the stuff off, two of them, and then.
Leave one with
just the light bar on top.
Okay. Sounds good. That'll work out well, then we'll start getting that
Will
arranged.
we not relieve Road and Bridge some of their older pickups or single cab?
Well, they can put that, that'll be a separate thing to put
Yeah,
on auction.
I'm just
when it's
saying
time.
is that those would become available.
Commissioner,
down
would
the
you
road.
would you guys have a problem if we brought the two that need to be stripped out to the county shop to go ahead and strip, so it's a quicker transformation of everything instead of waiting weeks of trying to get somebody to strip them? Thank you.
You still have to wait, you get in line.
Can I forward a purchase agreement from the vendor to one of you guys to sign?
Yeah, send it to
We'll
Will,
make the
but we
motion.
need a second.
Yeah,
We got a second.
We need a second.
You gotta make the motion.
We gotta make sure this motion
We
is
get the
done.
motion cleaned up here. If we agree with what you propose here, and what we see on the sheet, and we are agreeing that it's gonna be the 2008, this K-9, and the
Transport van.
Okay.
You have the stuff on that,
Somebody
because you
needs to-
wanna read those off of your screen.
So it's the 2008 Chevy Trailblazer.
Right.
It's the 2013 transport van.
Right.
And it is the 2020 K-9 Dodge Durango.
Okay, so that would be the motion.
Yeah,
2008.
along with selling those three and purchasing these three.
Right.
That is the motion.
Yeah, that's the motion.
2 seconds.
I will second that motion that we take these three vehicles under the motion.
Wait a minute, any other discussion?
I don't believe so.
Kat?
So, Kathy Griffin, so I just have two questions. One is, we were looking at a leasing option before. I think there were two companies that you were looking at, so was curious about that. And the second is, you were throwing around a lot of numbers, but at one point I thought I heard you say that by selling some vehicles, you could have up to 2 years paid off of this lease. But then a little bit after that, I thought I heard you say that you would hope to have the lease paid off in 3 to 5 years. And I thought the lease was only 5 years in the beginning.
3 to 4 years. That's my goal, is to pay it off early, within 3 to 4 years. And that's if we sold all 6, but we're gonna, 3 of those pickup trucks that are gonna be taken out of posse service because of the high mileage will go to the county for use. So that's saving the county other monies by not having to purchase replacement vehicles for them.
Okay,
So-
but of the 3 that you do sell,
Mhm.
do you still think that you can pay off about 2 years of
Yes.
lease with that?
Yes,
So there'll only be 2 to 3 years left of the lease?
correct.
Total? So you should have it paid off within 2 to 3 years, not 3 to 5 years?
Well, or what I proposed is that we pay one of the vehicles off fully,
Right away.
finish off the terms, the shorter terms that we're just about done with,
Okay,
With less money.
or stack it on the front end of these new ones. Either way, probably makes more sense to do it with the new leases, take off as much as we can
right, right.
sooner.
So it still sounds like we'll only have like maybe 2 years of lease left.
After the initial
All the
sales and
sales.
stuff.
Right, after
Yeah.
the sales and after you pay
Yes.
one off in full. Okay, so then the only other, thank you for explaining that. And so the only other question is, what happened to the Enterprise and the other company you were investigating?
So as soon as I get all the VINs, and I'm waiting on just one, and then once we get these VINs, then I'll send it off to both Enterprise and there's another fleet service company, and we'll see what their proposal looks like.
Because I thought their proposal was supplying new vehicles.
Well, so I think, I'm beginning to believe more and more, as I look into them, they're more a finance, they want to finance the vehicles. That's what they wanted. They're buying volume discount, and they're making money on that difference plus the
Instead of us.
financing. And I'm going, does that make sense for us? I'm still waiting to get, once I get this all put together, I'll send it to them and say, okay, here's your proposal, but I'm very skeptical
And
in the meantime.
And what I checked on too is exactly what the commissioner said. They make their money on the financing to the whatever entity they're leasing these cars to. And you can't get out of that lease early without a penalty or extra cost because of that. That's where they make their money.
And you don't get a big enough discount on the vehicle itself because of their, you know,
Volume.
big volume purchasing?
I don't-
Not as big as
And
this
it
one.
makes the lease,
Yeah, on these particular two of the 220, they're 2024s, brand new. Their sticker price was $52,703. With the discount they're giving us, we're saving about $16,171 on the two vehicles each. So that's almost $33,000. I don't think anybody can meet that. And the only reason we're getting such a big discount is because of the hail damage that was on the
right,
vehicles.
and you're not gonna save that much,
Right,
with interest rates.
Even with the state bid package, we wouldn't save that much.
Okay,
State bid package was 46 something on the Dodge Ram pickups, almost 47, to be honest with you.
And those were 24 numbers, but they couldn't.
And
get
those were
to
24 numbers, not 25 numbers, right? So, yeah, we wouldn't even save that much. So this is, be honest with you, if I was a business, I'd purchase these myself.
and I guess the other question I meant to ask too, Rich, was, at different meetings, I seem to remember you expressing a concern about having enough vehicles for all of your staff.
Right.
Sounds like you're getting rid of a lot and, you're gaining 3. Are you gonna come back to us in 6 months and say, oh? I
No,
need
so
another couple
what did you
vehicles?
predict would be the next time we have to ask for vehicles?
2008 or 20, it's 2028, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Going back in time, 2028 or 2029, and we may have to come back if we wreck a vehicle, but that'd be covered by insurance, and God forbid, knock on wood, that would never happen, that we have to do
And
that.
unless they're staffing.
So that's about 3 to 4 years.
I don't see us increasing in staff in the near future. So this gets us to where we need to be.
This would take us at a level with the staff we have, with the new staff coming, any new staff from any grants we have, takes us above and beyond the level. We're sitting in a very good place for a 10-year rotation of vehicles. We'll assess as we come up, like the 2018s, Durangos that are on the list. They're under 100,000 miles, so we should still be pretty good for at least as they'll become posse vehicles now, they'll be driven less,
Right.
so they'll last a little longer. Like these pickup trucks that we're getting rid of, the 12s and 14s, and, you know, they're 12 and 13 years old and, you know.
Right,
And,
and these new vehicles, I think Commissioner Epp had brought up a point before about the engines that are in them, and there was discussion about them, you know, having to get up to 100,000 or 100 miles an hour, you know, like really quick. These are good vehicles.
These are all
They're gonna
heavy,
handle
the
that.
5.3 Chevy Vortec engines.
These are their smallest V8 motors, and we have those in 4 of our vehicles now, and they do good, and then they also, when they're idling, get good gas mileage.
And then the
But not when
Ford,
you're going fast.
and the Ford is a VTEC V6, that's gonna be the detective vehicle. We'll downgrade her Durango, which is a 5.7 V8. That'll get a lot better gas mileage than what we're getting off of hers, right off that one right now.
Okay.
Okay,
So
we're going.
we're trying to make a
You
combination.
still have a question, Jim?
Yeah, it's a process question. I don't remember an RFP ever going out for $100,000 worth of cars.
No,
What are the rules for capital equipment and RFPs?
so it's $20,000.
Well, they did their research on
And
different models anyway.
the-
You went to every,
So
deal.
so we can get rid of the RFP process if we do state bid, but if we can find it for under state bid, I think our own policies then are starting to get in the way of our own financial reasoning. That's just my,
And that's,
So you're
assessment.
saying that over $20,000 requires an RFP
on normal stuff, yes.
unless it's state bid.
unless it's state bid. So you should have an RFP for these 3 vehicles, one of which could be Red's Auto and Truck.
And which I think what they did do, might be, you went to more than just Reds. You guys, you did, in effect,
He did good with
an RFP.
Dodge, Reds.
So they.
I actually-
Yeah, but that's you, that's not them bidding on an RFP.
But there's no way, and I say this 100% positive, there's no way if an RFP is out there, anybody is gonna beat those prices with the discounts because of the damage.
Well, you can't be 100%, you've got
To be
a
clear,
process.
the $20,000 requirement is a Board of County Commissioners
That's our own.
requirement. The board can waive that requirement at any point.
Right.
By, you know,
Just
if they
ignoring it.
feel that there's a situation that warrants waiving it. And obviously, as Commissioner Epp has indicated, requiring process over substance sometimes can get in the way of
Right.
the fiscal responsibility they have to the taxpayers, which is the whole point of the RFP process in the first place.
So do we amend
So what we know, what we can do is include waiving our own rule
in
in the motion.
the
Yes.
motion? It can all be in one.
So I'll amend my motion that we ignore our own policy
Use
with
the
this
word
one.
waive, it doesn't.
Waive.
Yeah.
Waive. Thank you, Jim, thank you.
At least you're doing process.
Waive it, and well, so I'll
Just keep it
stay with that.
I will second that motion.
So the other comment I have is, if we can find more hail damaged vehicles next year, let's not.
And that's what I asked him to. He does have more, but they're only 2-wheel drive. He's got 15 more. Those were only 2-wheel drive. And that's,
But that ought to be your process in the future anyway. Because
Yes.
you guys are,
Yes.
you're gonna wreck one of these things. Okay.
and that's why we actually, as I was doing, like Commissioner Epp said, I was going through trying to find the best, and we found a dealer out of the Springs who had really good prices for used ones, but it turned out they were
totaled salvage. They had
totaled salvage vehicles. He only disclosed that in the fine print. I had to take a microscope
That's a
to
bad
look
thing.
at that.
That was a bad one.
It was a weird name. I've never heard of it, what they call the titles, like it started with a B. Branded, that's it. And I'd never heard that before until I started asking all these questions and he started stuttering a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and then I went online and researched.
All right, we need to move on.
Okay, we have a motion.
So the motion is to,
Before you move on, can I have a question? The
the 3 vehicles that are staying in the county, can you give me those years? And
I can, yes,
is that list
I've got that
he's
list.
reading off of, is that part of the board packet?
No.
No.
Okay.
Do you want that list?
Yeah,
Does it have VIN numbers on it?
Yes,
Please, give me those.
I will,
she needs to
I will give you
keep
the
track
list.
and register them.
And Commissioner, you should have the updated list. That should be updated.
Okay. I've got, I think I talked to,
Brandon.
yeah, a week ago or something. So the only one I don't have so far is a 1603 vehicle. That's the Jeep Cherokee that I think is out for whatever.
It's actually back.
Is it back now? Okay. And then the Tahoe that I think we're still waiting on from the outfitter.
It's been picked up, it's just not in our yard yet.
Okay, so that, those are the two that I don't have, so. Okay. Well, actually, I do have that Tahoe, so I'm just waiting on.
You got the motion correctly.
But I'll send you that list.
Can you come over and look at the Cherokee just when you get time?
Yeah, okay. Any other discussion here? No. All in favor, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Lucas? Aye. Kanda, aye.
Thank you.
Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, gents.
You might as well stay put. Yeah. Okay, I asked for this to be on the, and this is a discussion, it could be resolved in a future ordinance or whatever. We did pass an ordinance some time ago to do a radar control deal and slow down traffic, stop it, and also benefit by that by getting tickets, money from people that are speeding without impacting their driving record necessarily, and their insurance was one good thing, and it would slow it down. However, after looking at it and understanding the cost and how the system worked, it was were there 2 nationwide systems? Three.
But only one does business in Colorado.
Because
Right,
our
only one
max
does
line is
business in
limited.
Colorado, and it's very expensive. They make the money, the county doesn't, basically is how it turns out.
So they make $14 per ticket and we make 26 per ticket.
Right. So after considering that, and we do need to slow down traffic in the right places at the right times. And in particular, I mentioned it already out on the road repair jobs, that we need to do that, maybe double the fine in the middle if they're speeding, that kind of thing. And I mentioned before, there's other ways to do it. You got these flashing signs like the school has in front of it, and where's the other one? Don Westcliff's got one going up Herman, coming into the city limits. And I catch myself pulling my foot back every time I see it flashing, just out of habit because I'm in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. So those are options. And then there was a study, the studies have been done, and it turns out those flashing signs are probably the most effective way to make people look and slow down and then look around initially. That doesn't mean you alleviate the need to have a deputy or an officer patrolling and taking a view of it. It also helps us from a safety point of view to protect the citizen who is speeding in the first place, and it helps save us money by not ripping up our roads as quick because of the speeds that are going on and getting the washboard and having a guy go out of control and killing the driver himself. So that's an issue. The other thing though is it would help not having a deputy. You don't want to have to move. How many people do you have to put out there and stop people? 3 or 4 at a time. And every time you position a guy with a radar gun out there, you're taking them away from the illegal alien doing X like you did the other day, or the safety issue, or they mass murder kind of thing. Those things happen. We can't ignore it. So I asked Rich to come up with some other options here, and so what have you got?
So I did do, CDOT has a website open to the public, and you can click on Custer County, and you can click on the years, and it actually plots a little heat map to show you where the crashes are happening, including fatal crashes, serious injury, and property damage only. And that takes data from us, because we actually do most of our crashes here, but it also does the state patrol. And so the worst area, if I was only going to patrol one area, is down by the airport and the S-curves.
Yeah, those S-curves, they get going fast, and those banked the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the road quality is poor, and the shoulder quality is poor there. So we do speed enforcement in these problem areas. We also take into account citizen complaints. And probably the most complained about road is either Rosita Road, either side, or Copper Gulch, especially towards the north end of Copper.
Complaints are, it beats the truck up so bad, welds break on people's equipment as they're driving through them.
Yeah. So we can mount a sign, a fixed sign like you see in the school zone on any county road, and that's your guys' prerogative. You can't mount a permanent sign on the highway without going through CDOT, and there's a big process to go through to get approval.
And they do allow that.
But they do allow it, but one thing they do allow as a loophole is if you have a speed trailer and it's temporary, then I could set it up on the highway in one of these zones, and as long as we didn't just leave it there, it would meet their requirements.
So it'd be a flashing sign like we see on the trailer.
Yeah.
Not our own signs, there are other signs which we put our message boards, but it would be a separately one. How much do they cost?
So the cheapest trailer one that I could find is $14,000. So that's solar powered, it has a radar gun, and then it says the speed limit is 55, your speed is 65. And so it doesn't require any input other than us telling the trailer, we set it up in a 55 zone and it changes.
Okay, and would you use those, like you said, in these dangerous places, but would you use those pre and post the construction zones, or would you do something different?
So yes, we could. So depending on the funds available, it would be super helpful for Road and Bridge to have one of these as well. There's an upgrade to the sign, and it actually, if you're speeding like more than 10 over, a red and blue light flashes. And
that makes it sound like a cop's right there.
It does, yeah. So that's one thing. In the school zone, I believe it flashes, there's a white light that flashes because it's on the highway.
And Westcliff one has.
Yeah. And so I don't have the funds to buy those, but there's specifically a grant from CDOT called the Highway Safety Grant. And so I could put in to purchase those. And I have some very good data from their state, it's their own data, to say it would benefit out here.
Well, would it make sense then for you to get with Road and Bridge and others, and let's figure out what the recommendation might be for us to consider to act, figure out if we got budget and all that kind of thing, and how we're gonna do it by the next meeting.
Yeah. So I could, and Road and Bridge at some times in the past has given me like a month-long calendar of where they're gonna be. And it's easier for me to accommodate those with advance notice, but if you just call me in the morning, it's hard for me.
Okay. I have a question for you, Dan. We passed a resolution. Do we need to rescind that now, or we wait until we get a new one that they propose and make it one motion?
The ordinance that we passed, I don't know that you need to do anything with that.
We just didn't do it. We didn't enact it. We didn't do anything about it.
So the ordinance simply allows you to do it if you want to at some point in the future.
Okay.
Doesn't
matter if it stays on the books.
It doesn't matter if it stays on the books at all. And in fact, one of the thoughts I had was that the sheriff might, because the ordinance indicates that you would post a permanent sign in these corridors that you've designated in here before you could start doing this. I don't know what's stopping you from putting a permanent sign saying that we may be conducting, however those signs read, and not actually have any automatic vehicle identification system in that corridor at that time. It's just indicating that we might have that at some, in this corridor.
Kind of like the speed check by aircraft signs.
Yeah, so the same does.
Kind of like that.
You got the one right, it's on every one of those.
But I will tell you,
believe it.
On Facebook, the community's been pretty active, and you have people who want the signs and have given us places to put them in, other people don't want the signs. But on Facebook, and I'll correct it now in public, the people have been saying, oh, those signs are out there, so they've actually been.
Well, I actually think we did it.
Yeah, so they've been voluntarily reducing their speed.
Okay, but if we don't have to, then we'll worry about it.
No, I wouldn't think that you would need to, and it gives you the option, gives you and the sheriff's department the option of at some point setting this up in the future if you find something that's fiscally responsible.
All right, you think you can do it by next?
Yep, so I'll send out to some vendors and get some prices for you. And we would be looking in the $14,000 range for a trailer, But then we could also buy signs like the town of Westcliff has done.
Get us a cost-effective thing, if it takes 3 trailers, 2 trailers, 1 trailer, and others, just whatever is gonna be.
I think it'd be
the
helpful if Road Bridge had their own dedicated.
Well, you
trailer.
need to get with them and see if they need to.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. John's got a question.
I'm sorry. I've got a question, while I have the sheriffs here, I live at the corner of Perry Drive and Adams. And we get a lot of speeders that are coming across Chloride Gulch on their way to get on Highway 69. We're walkable to town and to the parks. And so I see along Chloride Gulch, there's just no children home. So I see a lot of young mothers and their children walking to the Bluff Park or walking to town across that area. And it's probably, and I walk a lot on the town roads. It's probably the most dangerous area when I walk on that of any other street in town. And then when I watch young mothers with 2 or 3 children in strollers and their kids on striders or little bikes with training wheels, it's just a dangerous situation. So having one of those flashing speed signs.
And what's the intersection again?
It's the intersection of
Correct.
Adams and Jerry, but you're really catching people that are speeding out of town on their way to Highway 69. I don't know what the speed limit is there.
It's where Brandon lives.
It's
like 25.
it's where Brandon lives.
Yeah.
It's where Commissioner Epp used to live. He has seen this himself. If we could do something about that.
Here's the deal, though.
It would be greatly appreciated.
He has the contract to enforce that stuff with the town of Westcliff.
Yeah.
However, the sign would have to be purchased by the town of Westcliff.
Well,
That's okay, but get on their board and.
Well, I'm actually on the planning commission for the town of Westcliff.
Okay, there you go.
But I can bring this up to them.
Bring that up to them.
But, I've got the ear of the sheriff for 5 minutes here, so I just want to put that in your head, that's an issue. If we have these temporary trailers, putting one there from time to time, I think.
The other one we get a lot of.
I would love to see the town put a permanent sign there.
The other one we get a lot of grief on is the one that's going up to Silver Cliff. And that's probably a Silver Cliff issue, the dirt road on the right, if you turn by the subway gas station, and you go straight, then they get a pretty heavy foot there and a lot of traffic, and dust. But that, he's limited in the number of deputies he can put out. But that sign would be a good
I'll
thing.
put this up for extra enforcement, and then the town of Westcliff has the sign at the school, which is permanent.
Yeah.
But the other one is actually movable, and their old town manager would work with me, so I can ask if they can move it there just.
The one on Herbert Road?
Yep, that's.
The one that catches Commissioner Kendall all the time?
So I'll move it sometime when he's not aware, and
Yeah.
I'll move it out to you later.
Okay, appreciate it, thanks, Andy.
Yes, ma'am.
20, 30 years ago, so when I lived up in Boulder Canyon, we were able to work with the local sheriff to have the citizens get out there with the speed gun. Can that be done? Is it legal? Will it help?
I don't know.
I mean, what would they do?
Just point
Well,
it
that's
out.
what that's what I'm asking is, it might slow somebody down, but is it legal, like if you catch somebody, can you do anything about it?
There's at least one private citizen in Westcliff that owns his own radar gun, I know. He's told me that, so.
I would think that proving that case to a judge or a jury, if you had to, would be hard with a private citizen.
Yeah. And stopping the person speeding as a private citizen might be hard as well.
Yeah, I don't
You have
think
to have a
it's
center
one.
block.
Private citizen got killed
Yeah.
chasing him, who's liable?
No, I just, back in those days, I think I thought that the sheriff did actually do something with it, that somebody else took it with camera and took a picture or whatever, and I thought that.
Okay, we gotta move on,
Yeah.
because we got another meeting back in a second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, we got a Veterans Rescue Ranch Colorado Veterans Assistant Grant application that we were asked to support. And I'm gonna read it out loud. There's no money involved, just so everybody knows. They're asking for our verbal assistance in this case. So it says, on behalf of the Custer County Commissioners, I am writing to express our strong support for Veterans Rescue Ranch and its invaluable contributions to our community. VRR's work in providing healing programs for veterans and rescue animals has had a profound impact on the lives of many in Custer County. Our office has seen firsthand the positive effects of VRR's programs, which align with our mission to improve the quality of life for all residents. Their dedication to veterans and their innovative initiatives such as equine assisted learning contribute significantly to the well-being of the community. We encourage others to support VRR and their essential mission. That was a request for us to support, signed by Kanda F. and Vogelsong. So I would move that we support this.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
No, I've read this letter and agree.
Okay, any questions out there? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And aye. I'll sign it. Okay, next up, Forest Restoration and Wildfire Risk Mitigation Grant Award. There she is.
Morning.
More, thank you.
Hi, Robin.
Long arms there.
Okay, you're up.
Okay, the forest mitigation grant, which is from Colorado State Forest Service Field Office Forester. We've been informed that our application for the Custer County Mitigation Team Chipper has been approved for the funding amount of $49,250. And to refresh your memory, this is a tow-behind diesel chipper that can take up to 12-inch brush and would be under the auspices of the OEM office to work with neighborhoods and other community areas to remove brush and assist landowners in removing their mitigation efforts. And then that's what's called slash, which it's a bit of a struggle to know what to do with all of that slash. So this chipper would then allow residents and neighborhoods to request the chipper with a trained personnel and would go out and work with the neighborhoods to reduce fuel. And given the Paradise Fire in California and the Palisades Fire, where we have adjacent homes with the brush, it has been studied that it's that brush and those things around the home that may be the biggest deterrent if you can remove those. So they found that the areas near the home or the connected fences, the needles and other landscape materials, including brush and logs and trees near the home, is where that effective mitigation can take place. So this is an effort to reduce the fuel and to assist our citizens in doing so, to get rid of the slash portion, which is usually a chipper and a chipped material that can be then used for landscape, for paths, for other areas that then reduce that slash and brush.
Also, what you presented before was in conjunction with the veterans, what? You had something
Right.
else involved here.
Yes, so the wood products from both our training materials and from any neighborhood team projects that allowed for that wood to be taken to the Veterans Rescue Ranch. We have a MOU with them that they will cut up the logs and split it into firewood. They got a grant to do that, and they are still working on their shed, but they have logs and they have the splitter portion already purchased and ready to assist veterans that need home heating firewood.
Then how are you, this is another leading question, how are you allocating, how are you scheduling this, and who has priorities, and how are you gonna do it?
So
We're just not gonna sit there and then who's gonna pay for the guy that, the certified guy is gonna be operating this?
So-
It's not gonna be given to the citizens to be.
Correct. So the way the scope of work is written, it says the county will store, maintain, and operate the chipper with a trained county staff person or a trained mitigation volunteer. So working with Road and Bridge and working with the dealer to make sure that people who are the supervisor having that one person feeding the chipper. And so there is no personnel budget attached to the equipment, but in talking with Colorado State Forest Service, and I'm sure all of you are aware, our federal grants are all in jeopardy. And so this is a state grant, and we scored high enough to get the award, and it's about a 30% chance that we could have gotten the grant. So this is our opportunity to reduce our fuel in our county.
Okay, but you do have a program in mind on how to do that, and it would be available for the county to use Road and Bridge in emergency kinds of things, or we would have two chippers then that we could use.
Yes, and it would also impact roadways. So that's another thing where you can make a big difference is, especially in the grasslands, where you have a potential grass fire. If the roads are not all full of brush on the side, it has the potential to stop the fire and not jump the road. So we have future plans to talk about other ways to get rid of some of this brush and small woody material along the roads. When we do that kind of analysis for evacuation, that also is a good thing to have, is that brush removal.
Well, I see a need if creeks get backed up like they did down at Wetmore, then you can clear that brush before it becomes a point where it breaks the bridge, which it did down there.
It did, put it back.
Okay.
And so just a reminder that I did have 3 letters of support. One was from the Rescue Ranch, one was from the commissioners, and from Wet Mountain Fire Protection District, as they, of course, are our partners in
They would be
mitigation.
allocating this out as well.
And they would be part of our program. In fact, some of our mitigation volunteers are part of the fire department. And that when we made application, that letter did include an approval of a 50% matching grant.
Which gets us to Lucas.
Yeah, so do we want, this is really a capital improvement, piece of equipment, but there is, her fund is separately funded by a mill.
Right.
And so there is roughly $300,000 in cash reserves in emergency services. So maybe we want to take the $50,000 to match that grant out of there to use that instead of capital. So this is one of those things where I go, it's really a capital improvement, but it's easier to tie it to the grant because it's within its own fund, within the same fund as the grant is being administered.
So it doesn't restrict use of it.
Right. That's where I'm at with that, so.
Okay, we don't have a motion yet. Want to make a motion, we can keep public discussion going.
Yes. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and accept is that the dollar amount, $49,250?
Yes.
And that we accept that as a transfer fund. Do we need to put the funding in there?
It's match.
Matched funding on allowing the chipper to be utilized by OEM and Road and Bridge.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion anymore here? You got anything else there?
No?
Where's the fuel coming out of this and the maintenance? Where's that budgeted money coming from?
There's a 3-year warranty, extended warranty, so regular maintenance would be on primarily the blades.
Okay.
This bid also includes an extra set of blades, so
Okay.
that we don't have any downtime. We can get those put in and then send off the extra set for sharpening. And the fuel would need to be paid out of the CERT/CCMT fund, so that's the mitigation team.
Okay.
I have one question to add there. There's a clutch involved with the chipper that Road and Bridge has. Is that also in your verbiage that the clutch is under warranty also? It should be.
Yeah, I
This is a
think,
bigger one than you guys.
yeah, I think they call that the, not the clutch, but I think it's called a base. But it does require regular maintenance, and I have talked to Dan about whether that's something they can do, is making sure that that is
Okay, thank you.
regularly maintained.
Anything else, witness? Any questions? John, do you have one?
I just have a comment. Before I moved here 5 years ago, I ran a nonprofit in the Bailey area called Fire Down Bailey. And we did a lot of work with homeowners, with volunteers, mitigating individual properties. And that means in the first 30 feet, that's clear cutting. And then out to 100 feet, you are opening up the ground spacing by taking out trees, and you're limbing up to 8 to 10 feet. And in the process of doing that, we created mountains of slash. And so we're talking about, up to about 4 inches in diameter. Usually those are pretty long. And the real challenge for us was getting that chipped. Getting it chipped and just leave the chips on the ground because they would eventually just melt away. They added a little bit of fire danger before that, but you're talking about 2 inches of chips, and that means you've got a flame height of 8 inches if they get on fire. So it really wasn't an issue. So this is extremely important for the community. I've been helping Robin on moving our community wildfire protection plan forward, and so getting a handle on reducing the fuels in and around our subdivisions is absolutely critical for that. So we need this chipper. There's another use for this chipper that isn't discussed, and the real heavy lift in terms of fire mitigation, in terms of fuels reduction, is county road right-of-ways, the evacuation route right-of-ways. Getting the fuels removed in those right-of-ways is absolutely critical for life safety, and this chipper can play a major role in that. So that's all I have to say. I think you're already making the right decision. I'm just adding fuel to that fire.
Thank you for doing it safely.
If I may add to that, is that the chip on the ground also increases the longevity of the moisture in the earth below. And so it also helps with fire. But the other is the alternative is to haul this off to, guess where? The landfill.
Correct.
And
Really?
it
We're not
eliminates
gonna do that.
all that transportation of the sash.
And there are very specific chipper depths that we need to maintain, because we don't want to just create another fire hazard.
Correct.
But I know specifically, one of the projects at Spread Eagle, that we were involved with last summer put the chips on their access to the Rainbow Trail. And they also provided a support letter for this grant and talked about the efficacy of their mitigation efforts being increased and would decrease the manual labor intensity, reducing the risk associated with burning slash. And we are working towards having some people who can burn slash.
Right.
We do that when there's
So when you hit the
snow.
tool, you'll find more uses for it too, and other policies and procedures.
Exactly.
That's good.
There's
All
an
right.
online on it,
Who is it?
Rob Klein.
Hey, Rob, you there?
Yes, one question, is there any liability insurance involved in this for the county part?
Yes, CTSI has been consulted and Dan has been involved in that discussion about volunteers running the chipper would also fall under the county insurance policy as if they were employees.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, thanks for asking.
We had that discussion earlier.
And safety would be a priority.
Right, and that's why it has to be certified. It's not, this is not going out to Joe Blow to use, whatever.
Right.
Okay, given that, time to vote. All in favor of accepting this grant and moving forward with the chipper, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And aye. Go for it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Lucas, you're up.
Okay, oh, Vernon just got here.
Come on in, Vernon.
Hello again.
Burn your $17 an
Okay.
We're in underpaid.
Okay, this is for Resolution 2505, a fund transfer of landfill revenue collected to the landfill expansion fund.
So according to policy, funds generated by the landfill, collected by the landfills for certain amounts are moved from the general fund where they are receipted into the 19 fund for landfill expansion in the future. We also use some of those funds to pay for the compactor out there, which is helping prolong the life of the landfill. So this resolution actually encompasses monies gathered in the fiscal year of 22, 23, and 24 in the amount of $54,745.32 to be moved from the general fund into the landfill expansion fund.
Okay. A motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-05, resolution for operational funds transfer.
I'll second.
Just need to change the year on the bottom.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm
25.
I just noticed that just now.
sorry.
That's why I only get 17.
Apparently not.
But,
Yes.
oh,
Why
got
did
it.
it?
Okay, adopted this day. Oops.
Adopt it, correct.
I'll change my template. Sorry about that.
He's underpaid.
So
Yeah.
that will be amended, but we will not sign something that's the wrong year.
Correct.
I changed it on my end, so I'll get you a copy.
Okay. And we can sign that later.
Correct.
Okay, any discussion?
Oh, this is kind of what I talked about before, taking money that's sitting in general that needs to go into those specific funds. So this is just part of that, so.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, next one.
The next one is resolution number 25-06. This is movement from the, movement for the capital improvement fund, pulling $50,000 from the fund balance to put towards capital improvement at the airport for fences and gates. We did the 5,560 last week, but I didn't get all of the information needed, so we need to move another $50,000 as a budget appropriation to put on that line item.
Right, we got a grant for it, and you're just putting it in the right
Yeah.
spot now. The money's there.
So it's important to remember that for people watching, that even if we're getting money to cover something, we still have to budget the entire expenditure.
Right.
Even if we're getting that $50,000 back, we still have to budget for the entire expenditure, and then we can properly record it.
Yeah, and that's really something that people don't understand. We get these grants, and we have to prove that we spent the money. We have to spend the money first before they reimburse us. We can't get the money up front and go spend it.
90% of the grants are like that, yes, sir.
Yeah. COVID money was different than that.
Yeah, that was the
Right,
catch.
that was it.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
Anybody out here? All in favor of approving resolution 2506?
I don't think you made a motion.
I thought we did.
Well, that's not him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of us has to.
I'm sorry. Go for it.
I'll make the motion to accept, or to approve 2506 for the resolution for supplemental budget and appropriation.
I'll second that
All right,
motion.
now it's been moved and seconded to accept resolution 2506.
And you notice that it is for 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll sign this.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And, aye. What's that?
And I will have a whole slew of them next week for you as well.
Yes,
So,
you will.
How many in the slough?
what's that?
How many in the slough?
You know, as many as needs to be there.
More than Michael.
Yeah, I was getting ready to go.
Give you a Google.
Okay, do we have any other items of business? I don't think so.
Not unless we're.
And now, any other comments? Rob, you gonna be quiet?
Comments from us?
Yes, yes, any comments out there?
Doing
I
everything.
do have a comment. In 2020, I thought it was a free and fair election, and yet the commissioners had a resolution called Biden a traitor. And so I'd like to request a new resolution that we condemn Donald Trump as a traitor to the values of democracy and the Ukraine. And I just want to get a feel from commissioners what they feel about that.
Okay, you're asking us to consider that. That's something for us to consider. We can do that, we can consider it. And then we'll let you know.
Don't know responses right now.
So I'm gonna say this about resolutions. I've struggled with resolutions that don't do something practical. Right? We just did 2 resolutions that do something practical. They move money. I've really tried as a commissioner to stay out of national politics because the level of control I have is about this big on and it's only what is going on within the county. I have a level of influence outside of that circle of control, but then there's this big circle that I think if I try to wrap my arms around it, I get stressed out and I don't stay focused on what the people, the 5,000 citizens here have said. Focus on Custer County. This is what you control, is Custer County. That's what you can make decisions on. That's what you can affect our daily lives on. I wasn't here when they made that resolution against Biden. But I don't like resolutions that don't do something practical for the people.
I agree
Period.
with you, and I think that resolutions should be for the entire county, not for any specific person. So this is too specific, but I just want to make a point that, yeah, I agree with you. Resolutions need to be carefully studied and include every member in the county before you make a decision. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for that. You got another one?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a follow-up onto that comment, and that is Lucas's position is the logical and appropriate one, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the previous commissioner who had that position was recalled, so watch your back. The second thing is, given that position, would you consider looking at the resolutions that have been passed and rescind those that fit within your description of no practical purpose for the resolution.
I would be willing to look at them, but I also have to look at what is the time frame to look through however many resolutions that have made that have been that way and go, is it worth the time to do it? Or is there something better that I should be doing?
I can think of 3.
And then Dan points out.
Of the most
sits
recent.
there.
Were you asking me a question?
No, I was just saying, you pointed out that the resolution is a resolution.
Yeah.
What do you do with it?
Defines the sentiment of the Board of County Commissioners at a particular
Right.
point in time.
And given what he said, is it worth the time? There's probably a lot of other resolutions of 50 years ago that we might want to go relook at, so we're not gonna. Anyway, thanks for bringing that.
I would like to say,
And that's
I
what this-
appreciate you guys having to stay here all day and do this all the time. Thank you.
Thank James and Kathy too, because like I said here.
Marty, we're not done. We got a Board of
I
Health
know, that's
next,
right.
and we got another meeting
Thank you for
after that.
listening.
2 more
And that's what
minutes.
you pay us to do.
No.
Okay, given all that, I adjourn this meeting at
That was just
12:17.
a staff report, basically.
What time is that one?
1 o'clock, yes, sir.
Great job to the board. Great job to the board.